put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Fuck up.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
Jesus Christ, Aldo.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
Ay, Dios mío.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. Looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
He's a fucking idiot.
I love the efficiency of bourbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
We are here live. Dan is out on the East Coast. I'm just north of Chicago. Johnny Santucci is sick somewhere in Iowa. And we've got a guest coming at the top of the hour. All I know is he does some podcasts. His name is Karl. I think a lot of people in the chat will know who he is. Well, Dan and I will find out who he is when he arrives in an hour or so. Dan Aguirre, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, and as I was waiting for the intro to play, my friend Joey, who I'm going to be working with this football season, sends me a video. Of course, I'm about to go on, so I haven't watched it, but it says you'll get a kick out of it. Justin, he's a Steelers fan, by the way. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields, the most frustrating quarterback in the NFL. And I was like, well, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Even though, again, I liked Fields, but I haven't watched the video. I haven't had time, but it looks like where you were at the game Saturday, we made the right move here, right? It looks like it.
I gotta tell you, the vibes that I'm getting from Caleb is that this is finally it. That we've got a quarterback who could potentially be a bona fide NFL superstar, who could contend for that Mount Rushmore of NFL quarterbacks. Yes, it sounds like bullshit now, but play this in about 10 years or so and see how far off, or am I right? Or am I understating the whole thing? Because I think this kid has it. And I love Justin. I wish him well. I hope he's starting for the Steelers, not only because we get the high draft pick, but just for himself. I wish him well, but this guy is head and shoulders above what Justin Fields showed at this point in his career, his rookie season, when he played those preseason games. He's just far and away much more advanced.
The one thing I will say, Fields reminds me more of me in terms of my disposition. It's, I'm always got a frown on my face and shit, always worried about the next thing, Yeah. I don't acknowledge the happiness on certain things as much as I should, or enjoy things as much as I should. And Fields always kind of looked like that. He was tense, and I get it. He's trying to make it in a big town like Chicago. Conversely, Caleb is just, like he said on Hard Knocks, he's like, I haven't been nervous since my first game in high school. And you believe it. Yeah. The dude looks like he enjoys being Caleb. And Justin Fields and myself are more like Al Gore. We're like not comfortable in our own skin,
You know what? It's interesting that you brought that up, because I was wondering that when I saw you in Cincinnati. I saw you smile there more. We've been together 3-4 times, here in Chicago and in Cleveland. and you just looked more at ease and happier than I've ever seen you before. Do you think that you could be at a point in your life where you're turning from Justin Fields to Caleb Williams?
Well, I hope so. I certainly hope so. The wife is listening, so I'll say, just because I know she's with us, yes.
Marriage tip number 202. Say yes. Just a reminder that this show is R-rated. I'm saying that because I know we're getting in some new viewers who have kids. And so as our open says, put the kids to bed. We're going to talk about some things, including the fact that I realized that today is your 13th day of marriage to the beautiful
wow.
Nikki. And so I was wondering, has she stopped pissing in your mouth since you've been married, or have you had that activity?
No, we only did that once, but I still can think that when she squirts from a little bit of oral, that there's a tinge of pee in that. I'm sure there is. Yeah,
the very first time I had sex was with a girl who was 2 years older than me, and she squirted, and this is the first time, right? So I'm wondering, what the fuck is that going down my leg? Is she pissing or am I pissing? What's going on here? So I soon thereafter learned that she was going through the magnificent experience of squirting out her orgasm. It's pretty good.
Wouldn't you love to hear Braxton Jones talking about this on Hard
Knocks? Wouldn't it be nice if we could hear any kind of adult language on Hard Knocks? Did you see I guess on CHGO, they had on one of the Hard Knocks producers, and she said that out of respect to the McCaskey family, they had decided not to show listen, whatever, any profanity. So that's why it feels very corporate-y this year because of that.
Let me ask you, no, I didn't see the CHGO thing, but if I told you in, I don't know, May, June, the Bears are going to be on Hard Knocks, but the only caveat is they want it to be PG in its rating, would you be happy with it?
I would still be pleased. I feel like some of the obscenities is an accurate reflection of what's going on in the team. And the fact that they're excising that is a blemish about the transparency of seeing an NFL team. They fucking swear. They've been swearing for I don't know how many seasons they've been of Hard Knocks, but a lot of them.
And lots of Bears losing. So the Bears have been cussing as a team for 100 years now.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of cussing has been going on. In fact, we're talking about this. You didn't even know that I was going to play this. So this is just naturally that the conversation is going here. I retrieved, if you remember, on the old 100 Proof days, we played Virginia McCaskey some golden footage that we received of her having an argument with the lady that owns the Detroit Lions, the Mrs. Firestone. I forgot her first name. And so they're going back and forth, each of them calling themselves name. I now have a video version of that. I'll show that to you. So it's interesting that they've cut out all the swearing, and yet these two matriarchs of pro football really go after each other.
See the asshole, how long it takes her to move. Hello?
One coming?
Well, sit your ass there.
Who came here?
Frank wants to sit there because he's connected to that plug over there, you dumbass. Look, you can sit right over there. You didn't have to go clear across the floor. You're so damn dumb, it isn't funny.
Kiss my ass!
Kiss your ass.
Yeah, you're a pain in the
Oh, I'm
ass.
kicking your ass.
I tell you, you are
That's what I
so.
feel like. What?
You are so.
I feel like kicking it, not kissing it.
So Virginia has this sweet demeanor about her, but in private, she swears more than fucking Brian Urlacher.
And she talked about how much she wanted to fuck the players when she was younger.
That's right. Steven Zimmer says, no swearing tonight, guys. Be respectful to the McCaskies. It's just, there's no way, Dan Aguirre, if we found the sponsor for this show, let's say Nestle's candy bars, and they said, "We love your show, but you need to cut all the swearing out, and we'll pay you $10,000 to do the show." Would
think we
you?
cut the swearing out?
I'm not sure I could. There have been times, I used to be able to control my language at times, but there have been times recently where I will accidentally release an F-bomb in front of the priest who's marrying my daughter. What does this fucking thing start?
Sorry, Father.
So anyway, Virginia McCaskey and Martha Firestone, they would go at it, and I would love it if they were featured in a Hard Knocks segment with both of them swearing like that.
Do you think Virginia, because she talked about the early days of the Bears and she was like wanting to fuck some of the players, what if that continued on? She's like, boy, that Doug Atkins, he's got a big cock. He's real tall. Butkus, I wonder if he's so mean in the bedroom,
Now we're talking.
Walter, let's find out what they call Walter sweetness.
That's right. That's right. This is HBO. The HBO brand is about naughtiness. And so, by the way, King Pookie Nation points out that's not Virginia. No, King Pookie. That's Grandma and Gringa. That video was from the YouTube channel Grandma and Gringa. Some grandson.
Did you say Grandma and Gringo?
Gringo.
I'm the Gringo here, I admit.
Dan, you've been following any of the Democratic National Convention?
I haven't had time to watch. I saw the weird video today because I saw the sound bites from Obama last night, and then Trump to his supporters was pissed off saying, like Barack Hussein Obama, the typical lines.
Right.
But I saw a video where he talked to CNN and he was like, I like him and his wife.
Right.
They're nice people. And it's just like, he can't say that to like his supporters though, right?
Right.
So I thought that was odd.
The word is that his advisors have told him the shift in the polls the last 3 weeks is unbelievable. There's no way you're going to win this race unless you try something different. And so what he decided is to try to be magnanimous. So that must have been the hardest thing for him to say, that I like a guy who I basically called the N-word.
And said he was an illegal citizen for...
Right. Yeah, we're going to look for his birth certificate. We're going to go all the way to high.
I'm going to hire some guys. Remember he kept saying that?
Yeah. Cliff says, I've tried to watch, but had to turn it off last night after they brought out the DJ and rapper dancing in the aisles during an hour-long ceremonial vote. Cliff, the TV producer and me, I loved that. It's a way to reach out to young people. All of that music, I dug that songs, that were representative in a rock and roll, soul type way of the state that was doing the roll call. And it was just, I thought it was very well produced. Now, I understand why, some people may not have liked it, but I personally liked it a lot.
I like it, even though I didn't get to see that. I told you I've been really busy. We've got my stepson starting school tomorrow. My stepdaughter just started college. My wife just started a new job. I mean, it's been a crazy week, and I'm still at work. But I can say that even though I haven't seen the first 2 nights of coverage, I think it's fair to surmise that the Democrats are happier this time in Chicago than last.
Yeah,
I'm referencing 68, obviously.
Well, that's not the last time there was a convention in Chicago. Bill Clinton had one of his 2 conventions.
Oh, Clinton was there. What was it, 96?
96, yes.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, most people have.
Well, speaking of going back to 68, this is the last political thing, is we're a Bears show. We don't want to piss anybody off. But it looks like Bobby Kennedy Jr. is about to drop out.
Yes, I guess the word is that some of the polls are finding out that Kennedy is actually taking votes away from Trump, because they dislike Trump more than they dislike Harris. Or is that the other way around? But basically, his vice presidential candidate says we're trying to determine how we can help Donald Trump get elected more. It's like, really? That's why you guys are running cats out of the bag, I guess.
Right. Well, we kind of knew, regardless, because I'm a big fan of Robert Sr. Mr. Kennedy, who I still respect, was the huge. I know some people are going to agree with him. I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but he was one of those guys that from the jump was anti-vax on all of the COVID situation that we had. And again, a lot of people were. I'm just saying, but typically you're on the far right, politically spectrum speaking, if that's your situation, which again is fine. I'm not saying you're a bad person or whatever. I'm in a red state, for God's sake. But I knew that he had gone to the right based upon his positions during 2020 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I used to listen to Kennedy a lot years ago when he was on his climate change crusade, and I'd turn on, left-wing talk radio, and he'd be a guest, and he spoke eloquently about the dangers of climate change. But I don't know, that worm in his brain or something has happened to that guy, because it's weird. Cliff says, although it's a bunch of different people saying the same exact thing, so boring they needed to grandstand for an hour with the DJ. Again, Cliff, I disagree. There was a segment, I think it was last night, my wife and I liked it. My wife is not pro-abortion. She doesn't like the idea of it, but she is pro-women's choice. It's her body, everybody's individual body. The government should not tell them what to do. So we were watching these 3 testimonials from 3 different women who have been harmed in some way by the abortion laws in Texas. And it would bring a tear to your eye, because these were women that needed emergency abortions to save their lives, or to not walk around with their dad's child because the girl was raped by her dad. And, my wife is tearing up, and then I start tearing up. So there are a lot. One of the things about the Democrats is they know how to put on a show, and they know how to tell a story within that show. Now, I suppose that for a Republican, all of that sounds the same, but I think for us liberals, we can appreciate the way the convention has been held. For those of us who have watched it anyway, I don't know if anybody's watching this thing, to be honest with you.
All
right, enough politics.
I would. And then if I go to my other job, I do have some time. I think I'm working with mostly Republicans, so I don't want to piss anybody off,
Yeah, I'm with you. You and I talked, and we kind of made a pledge that we're not going to talk about politics right after the Donald Trump, because it's such a toxic thing. And one of the things I love about Cliff is that he and I can disagree on politics, which I wish all of us could do without making it personal, without getting angry and so forth. It's just, I think, well thought out discussions. And so, Cliff, I want to do this political show. You're invited. All right, let's talk Chicago Bears.
Segue real quick and
Please.
Say, I like your jersey there, the barroom.
Oh, thank you. You know what? I was thinking about wearing it to the game Saturday, and I actually took it to the hotel, and then I decided to wear Walter Payton instead. I didn't want to be a walking billboard. This thing really calls attention to itself, the bright orange and stuff. And everybody's like, thank you. I appreciate it. Speaking of that, I put together a little video of kind of my experience. I did this back in 2018 when the barroom was, the video department at least was in its infancy. I put together a video just talking to fans, and I said, I want to do this every week because it's so much fun, and it's great to hear different people talk. Well, guess what? It's 8 years later, I'm doing it now. And so these are some of the people I met on the way to Soldier Field, and I talked to them a little bit about the Bears.
Chicago Bears.
Yeah!
Is our guy, Caleb Williams, man.
Caleb is the guy. What do you say? You're being awfully quiet there.
He a hater.
He's a hater. Ooh. You're finally what?
Excited. They look so good this year.
He picked it out for me, but I picked out the color because I really love the Bears.
I think they're going to go far, and I think they might win the Super Bowl.
I think maybe 500. I don't think we have an offensive line. Everything else, I mean, we've got every other thing. All the offense we've added, I really like that.
I think we should temper expectations. Expect Caleb to have a good rookie season. 8 to 10 wins. It's a really good year.
It looks great on paper right now.
I think the offensive line's going to tell the tale. They're a little banged up right now, and we're not sure what's going on at right guard.
I'm excited to see what Caleb Williams could do.
Williams has a winning attitude, and that he can bring this team together and be a leader. I was ready for his jersey as soon as that game was over.
Learn and grow. Sky's the limit for him. Keep him healthy and protect them.
I think he's going to put up some good numbers just because of the weapons.
The whole team looks a lot better organized this year than they did last year.
17-0? Does that sound good?
That sounds amazing. 100%. 100%.
Every day. Every day. Every 80 billion winners. Winner to winners.
I could see them going to the playoffs this year if they keep playing the way they have been, because they just seem like they feel like a whole different team. You can just tell there's different chemistry and there's different energy on the field.
Just want to see forward progress this year is all I'm looking for.
We're taking Pops. He's never been to a Bears game. We're going to do this.
Yeah. And this is your first NFL game?
It is.
For a long time, I have never been downtown Chicago.
Oh, well, I hope you're having a great time.
I'm still walking.
Go Bears!
So there it is. That was my Saturday in downtown Chicago talking to Bears fans. You know what? And I found that music, and it's obviously a knockoff of We Are Family. And I thought, yeah.
The 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates used that as their theme song.
Yes, indeed. Willie Stargell? Who was the big hitter behind Stargell? Also left-handed bat. Come on, chat room.
They beat Cincinnati in the NLCS that year. I know that. Who did they beat, the Orioles in the series?
Initials are DP, the lefty backup.
Dave Parker, former Cincinnati Red as well.
There you go. That's right.
Did they beat Baltimore in the series?
They did beat Baltimore in the series.
Could I comment on the video real quick?
Please do.
Of course, I love the video. The production and stuff is great, always.
Thank you.
I just say, as a Bears fan, if I could have responded to them face to face.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I love everyone's enthusiasm. I don't know if the one guy was a Packers fan that they said was a hater.
Mm-hmm.
But why do we have to say, oh, it's going to be a great year, we might get 8 or 10 wins? I understand that they haven't made the playoffs since 2020.
Yes.
Let me just say this. Look at 2000. They're 5-11. They go 13-3 in 2001.
Yeah.
2004, they're 4-12. In 2005, they're 11-5 and win the division.
Yes.
Like, they've turned around. 7-9 in 2009, 11-5 in 2010. Go to the NFC Championship game. How about 2017? You know how bad it was there in Fox's last year. And then 2018, we're all thinking Super Bowl. You can have a quick turnaround.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to settle for, well, we hope we're not in last place this year, so maybe if we finish third, it'll be a good year. No, a good year means we fucking make the playoffs and make some noise, man.
Right.
And it's plausible. Like right now, it's not just a dream pipe. Like where you're saying like, oh, come on, they haven't made the playoffs in 4 years. They suck. And you can just only hope for 500. No, the part of being a fan is hoping that, like that kid said, how about the Super Bowl?
Yes.
That's what I want to preach to these people. Give us some enthusiasm here, man. Don't just come out there and think, yeah, we're having problems with the line. We're going to suck this year. Okay. Every year I'm thinking this is our year to turn shit around. So why not this year? I say that every year, I know, but why not now? Why not us?
I'm telling you that I am with you. There's a part of me, which is the diehard Bears fan, that I say we can and probably will go 17-0. Why? Because every week we're going to be focused on winning that game. Why not 17-0? And then the pragmatic one says, yeah, it's going to be more like 7-10. But so there's that constant battle in my fucking mind, which is why I hear voices and why I turn to drinking and all this stuff. It really is infuriating being a Bears fan because they have teased us so much. The 85 Bears should have been a 3, 4, maybe even 5 Super Bowl team. And then the quarterback gets hurt, and then Ditka's head grows too big.
And Buddy leaves.
and Buddy leaves.
Their trades and retirements and
exactly. And then Lovey comes on, and it's like he's got a certain magic to him. You know, he's got this defense going.
He's got what they call big dick energy.
Exactly. Rex is our quarterback. If you don't like it, suck my dick.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you think, okay, at least win one, baby, under Lovey, and it just doesn't happen. And then Matt Nagy shows up, and hey, nobody was super pleased with Matt Nagy, but it was a lot fucking better than John Fox until it wasn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, the 2018 was one of my favorite Bears seasons of all time because of what we were doing here in the bar room, the friendships that were made. We went through that journey all together, and that was kind of a fun team to follow. But you knew, deep down in your heart, you knew there's no fucking way Mitch Trubisky was going to win a playoff game.
It's not Mitch's fault. He led the drive down the field, and then,
but he didn't get the touchdown.
Cody Parkey.
Yes. It's like the old saying, you know, do you have a quarterback that you feel good about in the last 2 minutes of the game to win you the game? And yes, he threw a nice pass there and got us within field goal range.
Allen Robinson with the big catch.
Yes. But man, that fucking hurts so much. I wish my wife would understand the pain I'm going through.
Yeah, that double doink, man. And then like just the litany of plays in the last couple of years are things like, you know, whether it's that Randall Cobb play or Zach Miller's touchdown when his leg is basically ripped off and then they rip off his touchdown. Or how about that game in Pittsburgh when, again, the official, Tony Correnti, sticks his thigh out and then the player bumps into him and then he throws the 15-yard flag and takes that game away from us. All these things happen.
Do you remember the name of that player? He was with the Bears for several games that season.
Yeah, he was a former Steeler and did some kind of karate kick or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
He was at that game, but it's just there's always these litany of plays where you can look at and you say, see, that's us, that the Bears get screwed, and you almost get into a victim mentality.
Yes.
And I understand it because I definitely do that. But in spite of all of that, it's a new year. And right now, things look good. Now, of course, anyone could get injured at any point. See the kid in Minnesota. I don't want to bring that into reality, manifest that. So you always want to pump your brakes. But all I'm saying is we're not even at week 1 yet. We got our last preseason game tomorrow. But right now, we should all be dreamers, man.
I totally agree. I mean, that's part of the reason I love football and I love my Chicago Bears. It's because every year, it's like the relationship. Yeah, the relationship becomes, revitalized, re-energized. It's the Bears. They're wearing a sexy lingerie to bed tonight. I'm gonna fuck the shit out of this Bears team for the next 17 weeks, and I'm finally gonna come at the Super Bowl. Well, how about that for an analogy? But you're right. You're absolutely right. You fall in love with the possibility of what could happen, and it's just, these Green Bay Packers season 1 losses. Those were the of all the games that I've ever watched in my Chicago Bears history, dating back to 1968. Those were the most devastating because I allowed myself to build such high expectations that we were finally going to beat the Packers, that we were going to, beat Jordan Love, and before that, we're going to beat Aaron Rodgers before he leaves. But nothing, man. I'm being a Debbie Downer to your Patty Positive.
I'm going to bring you back.
Okay.
Now, again, this means nothing, but in my dream, I'm manifesting positive energy here, so I'm going to connect dots that probably aren't there.
Okay.
Super Bowl 59 is in New Orleans.
Ooh.
The Bears won the Super Bowl in New Orleans. How about that? It takes us, 29 years later to get back, but you go back to the Superdome and win it again. How about that?
Yeah, I like that idea. I like, the kismet, or whatever the fucking word is, that, a lot of times shit like that happens. The last time I got a blowjob was, last time the Bears beat the Bengals.
Do you remember when Ditka took the job with the Saints? He said something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but he thought, I won the Super Bowl in New Orleans with the Bears. Maybe it's my destiny to coach in New Orleans.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. That would
Yeah,
be
so
something
he
he'd
thought
say.
that's part of the reason he took the job was because they won the Super Bowl there. So it's not just me. Fucking Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka thought things like that. So the Bears going back to New Orleans to win it all this year. I say that with a little bit of, maybe I should be reticent and not say that. But why? Fuck it. Why?
Well, I'll tell you what. Since 2018, this team feels to me like a team that could potentially just surprise the shit out of us. There's no doubt about it. The only thing that we're, again, looking at things from the opposite point of view, is that it rarely happens with a rookie quarterback that they go all the way and win a Super Bowl. I mean, has it ever happened? A rookie?
No, I remember Roethlisberger was 15-1 in 2004. I think that was like the best rookie season that I can recall in terms of the team, because it wasn't just Ben. Obviously, they were hiding a lot of his deficiencies at the time.
Right.
But they lost the AFC Championship game to New England. Kurt Warner technically wasn't a rookie, but his first year as a starter, he was NFL MVP and Super Bowl MVP. So in theory, that's the best first season, but he wasn't technically a rookie. But it was his first year getting any significant playing time, any playing time.
Yeah, and you know what makes it that interesting, knowing what you just said, is that Caleb does appear to be the guy who can do it, because of his personal story and the fact that, how he has groomed himself. You mentioned earlier, that clip from Hard Knocks where he says, "I never get nervous, only the first game I ever played." And, that he has had that nurturing background, and he's displaying a maturity unlike any other rookies. And this is according to, people who know football, people who cover football, people who've played football. They attribute something special to Caleb. And so I'm with you, brother. I want to hop on this fucking magic carpet, and if by week 3 or week 7 or week 10, the carpet fucking falls apart and we crash land, I'm willing to go through that.
We've been through it 50 times before.
Exactly. I'd rather be that guy that gets his heart broken than the cynical guy, and I see this all the time on social media. It pisses me off. The cynical guy, like, fucking McCaskies don't spend any money. Yeah, this team will never win anything. It's fuck. You know what team doesn't win anything? It's the Detroit Lions. That's the team you should be rooting for because we have won. And we also went to the Super Bowl and lost a game that we should have won. So good times are ahead, and Caleb Williams is going to be a big part of that. All right, it's 8:34 here in Chicago. In about 20 minutes from now or so, we will have a guest joining us. I want to play some video for you from the press conferences of the last 2 days. Tyson Bagent had a prominent role in last night's Hard Knocks. What did you think of that segment?
Yeah, I like that he said something. Again, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, it's my job to help Caleb, but I also still have aspirations to ball out. Again, that's not a quote, but that's the gist of what he said. And that was pretty damn honest. And his dad is always colorful to be involved in anything too. So
I love the kid. As much as I love Caleb, I love Tyson Bagent. I truly believe that kid is going to be a starter in the National Football League. He's got the mindset. The only thing is does he have the arm? And the motherfucker works out like a guy who should have a great arm. I'll tell you that. So he spoke to the media and basically reacted to what he shared on Hard Knocks, is that he has high-ass aspirations for himself.
Do you visualize your NFL career? What do you visualize?
I can't tell y'all that. Y'all think I'm crazy.
I think you're crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I got ridiculous, unbelievable aspirations that go far deeper than what I've been able to do so far. So I'll just sum it up like that, and I'm just excited to continue to work at it and continue to, get better at my craft.
Why is it important for you to have those? You don't have to share them, but why is it important for you to have those, and how has it helped you even to get to this point?
Yeah, I think it puts myself in a different mental space, and I think it puts those around me in a different mental space regarding how they view me. I just don't want to be somebody who people look at and think are, just grateful for that he just made the team, or just he's a fringe guy. I don't want to be looked at that. I don't think that's who I am. And it just kind of puts me in the headspace of just a limitless mindset, not like a limited mindset.
You don't want to give us one detail? You don't want to give us one detail about your goals?
No.
I love the kid. Love him. He reminds me of the kind of guy that I wanted to be when I was a teenager. I grew up in a neighborhood with, 80% Puerto Ricans. Everybody's into salsa music, and I'm the whitest Puerto Rican among the thousands around me. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to embrace the whiteness. I'm going to grow my hair long. I'm going to, listen to different music than everybody else and so forth. And everybody either thought I was weird or overlooked me. And that is, I think, what has happened to him. I mean, the guy ends up in Shepherd University. Nobody knows where that school is. He's played great. He's doing all the right things, but nobody acknowledges it. He doesn't get, drafted. And watch, he's going to fucking be as great as me someday.
I thought you looked in your pictures, obviously before we met, because I was much younger than you at the time, because I was fucking in elementary school or something. But looking at your photos then, I thought you looked like a guy that would work opposite Jacques Cousteau. You look like a doctor or a guy that would be Richard Dreyfuss's character on Jaws.
I love that character, but
you
no.
look like a fucking doctor or scientist when you were younger.
Yeah, you know what? I could have gone that way, but the diet that I had from my grandmother was the one that took care of us, and so what she'd give us is highly she would give me. I don't know what the fuck my brother was doing. His nose was bleeding or something. She gave me highly caffeinated, highly sugar, lots of sugar coffee and bread. That was my breakfast. And by the time I got to school, I was fucking crashed, man. And so, I don't know, man. The reason I'm thinking about this is because yesterday we exchanged texts about Hard Knocks, and there was a segment on Hard Knocks where I was taken back to my days of playing football on Humboldt Park or at the Moose schoolyard on California Wabansa, Humboldt Park in the northwest side of the city. And we would play tackle football on fucking concrete in Moose School before we got smart enough. Let's walk over 3 blocks to Humboldt Park and tackle each other over there. And that sequence where they were playing the Bengals and the rain is falling and so forth, I was just transfixed by that. And it really gave me that visceral feeling of going back to those days. Dan, when you were a kid, you played tackle football without pads and just, right? Weren't those great days?
Yeah, I didn't think about that like you did during the show.
Okay.
But now that you say that, yes, it didn't matter if it was sleet or snow, rain, like football was everyday weather. Now, again, if you're playing basketball and it becomes heavy rain, you're like, okay, fuck it, we quit. Baseball, same thing. But football, you could do that. The worst thing would be like really, really hot weather for football. If it's like 100 degrees, you're like, it's too hot to be out there hitting each other. Right. But if it was like rain or snow or even sleet, which I hated the most, is sleet, but we still played. All day,
I imagine
kids today are always indoors, whether they're talking to kids on their headsets and their video games and stuff. I feel like if I were a dad now, the thing would be to play catch with my son on a video game.
Yes, you're right.
To actually go outside and do it, So my generation, I was born in 1980. Our kids, we went outside. Mm-hmm. We were outside every day, and I think our parents loved us for it.
That is so cool. I imagine that, when they were picking sides, you were one of the first, if not the first guy.
No.
Because of your height. Really?
There was like 3 or 4 guys that had more speed and more. We had one guy named David Burks who was just like had that Butkus mentality. He loved to fight. He loved to get hit. He loved contact. and he would just beat the fucking shit out of you on the field. And so they always wanted him first, or somebody with immense speed. But I was more like 4th or 5th picked for sure. I was kind of like the 2A.
Yeah. I imagine if you've got a guy in your group who is like Dick Butkus, you'd be afraid not to pick him first because you don't want him on the other team, you know?
I swear to you, he would tell us, and he'd be like, all right, let's get 3 of you against me at one time. Mm-hmm. All of you come at, do anything you want. Hit me, use your fist, whatever. There's 3 of you against me at once, and he would still win.
Wow.
I mean, the guy would make us tap out. I mean, like I said, the toughest fucking guy I ever met. He was paralyzed in a car crash. He was in the Navy, and they told him he'd never walk again. And I saw him in the bed. It's like a scene from a movie. He goes, fuck those doctors. I'll be walking again in 6 months. And he was.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, the guy was so fucking tough. I mean, everyone's got somebody like that in their neighborhood, and he was that guy for us.
God bless him. There was a guy in our neighborhood. His name was George, and he had gone away to the service for a few years, a couple of years or whatever. And we're playing tackle football at Humboldt Park. I'm like 17. He's like 19, 20, back from the service. And I'm playing linebacker, and he gets a pitch out. And he starts running right at me. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, should I just turn around and run away from him? Or should I, should I try to save my dignity and just close my eyes and tackle? And that's what I did. I closed my eyes and tackle. And all of a sudden, that motherfucker hit me. I must have gone 5 yards back, but he fell too. And so I was expecting everybody to just start laughing at me or whatever, but they were all, great tackle, great tackle, great tackle. And all of a sudden, man, I felt like that fucking energy. I can do anything in the world, man. Good times, good times. I would love to do a documentary of just people recalling their memories of street football, and if pick some.
I got one for you real quick.
Please.
The guy since passed on. His name was Jay Norwood. And again, immense speed. He looked like our version of Greg Lloyd.
Ooh, okay.
Just built so fucking just iron, like there's no fat on this dude. And I break free. I catch a pass just to slant again. I'm the tight end, and I break free, and it's like I see a touchdown from me, and then from like 50 yards back, here comes Jay. It was so much faster than me. So I'm running full speed. And of course, when he gets up on me, I slow down to defend his tackle that's coming. And he's yelling at me, don't slow down. Don't slow down. And he tackles me hard, He's like, why'd you stop? Why'd you? Because I'm living for another day, man. That's gonna I know he's got an open shot on me. He's going to kill me.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm afraid, but it's also some savviness to know, protect the football and don't let this guy kill me.
Yeah. I remember a game real quick. I was playing like a safety position, and there was a guy on the other team who his name was Walter, probably the most gifted athlete of all of our guys. And he's running that in pattern, and he's coming right at me. And I say to myself, you know what? I'm going to fucking launch myself right at his waist, and I'm going to fucking double this motherfucker over. And just when I went to leap, there's his spike. He lifted up his foot. That was his spike. I just went under because I didn't want my fucking face scarred for the rest of my life. But yeah, good times, man. Good times. Absolutely. Anybody in the chat room have a high school or football memory from playground days? I'd love to share it on the screen for our people. All right.
One more.
Please share as many as you can.
So I break my ankle in 1997. It's the only thing I've only broken ever has been my ankle. It was in June, and the rest of the early fall, I'm still afraid to do anything. I'm like, I don't know if it's ready because it was still sore a little bit. It's just I felt like Derrick Rose. I'm like, can I go back? I don't know. D Rose he's like, BJ tells me not to play. So, but finally, somewhere around November, I got peer pressured into going out, and I still felt so scared that it's too soon. And I had a game, again, it's just 4 hours of sandlot, but I scored 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, whatever.
Wow.
And yeah, it's like I'm running cats over and everything. And I was like, I was afraid not to get hit, but I was afraid that I was going to re-injure my ankle. And I remember feeling that day like, oh man, it's healed. It's healed. Like, cause I played so well that day, you know? So, and again, I went into it thinking I'm going to hurt myself. I'm not ready. Cause I was so afraid of, cause I was limping forever. Cause I didn't walk on crutches like I was supposed to. I just got frustrated. So then I just like limped for a while, but I did not want to be on the crutches. And so I just didn't think I was ready. You know, I was so afraid that I was going to re-injure it. And then that proved to me that I was healed.
I always had the sense since the time I met you and just being along your physical presence that you really were a good athlete and could have probably been better if you really had a passion for it. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that I was a good athlete. I was good enough to be a high school player for sure in baseball and football. I wasn't going to be drafted. I wasn't even going to play at Shepherd with Tyson. You know, I mean, like I was good enough to be a guy in high school for sure. Basketball, I didn't have enough lateral movement, maybe with the zone, but I doubt it. I could do okay in pickup games for sure. You know. Sure. But yeah, baseball and football, I was decent enough to play high school stuff for sure. Football, the main thing is I never had enough coaching to break down video and to get better. We just didn't have it. And that maybe that's on me, but I don't know if it is because when you're young, you kind of have to be taught.
Absolutely.
It's not like a lack of effort when you're 13.
Yeah.
I quit baseball when my dad died. So, and that was on me, but it took my passion from me, you know?
Sure. I can understand that. No, I'm sort of the same way. I never had really good teachers. And so I fucking go to a library and pick up a book on how to tackle and stuff. And that's really how self-taught. I have a buddy now who's been taking up golf. I haven't seen him in a few years, but he told me, I've been golf. I'll be in the sand trap. I'll go to YouTube, how to get out of sand trap. And I'm like, oh, that must be great for the foursome behind you. What's that fucking guy doing the sand trap looking at his phone for? Anyway, D. Starin says, when I put pads on in high school, I felt indestructible. First time I ever fucking put pads on, D, I felt the same way. I said, man, I want to play in pads. And then I don't know what happened. I think I chickened out or something.
I think I looked like Franco Harris when I was in pads. You know how like his like the pads up top are always falling out of his pants? That's what shit was always happening to me. Like the protection of like your obliques up top, your thigh pads were always falling out. And I was like, God damn it, man. This is so much more difficult than it looks on TV. Just keeping the uniform straight with the pads.
Yeah. I used to play ice hockey, and I just could not skate really well because I got flat feet and my feet would get sore and stuff. But I always thought I could have been a great hockey goalie, but just didn't have the feet.
Yeah, that's not me. I know you always tell me I should watch a Blackhawks game with you and stuff. I don't know shit about hockey, and I've never skated in my big ass is too. That is a large fall from up where I'm at 6'5".
Well, I hope when you and Nikki come to Chicago, we could work it out where we go.
She can skate well. That was her thing in her youth. And she was like one of these people that could do tricks and shit and show off.
I could see her in like that Raquel Welch roller derby movie. What's it called? Kansas City
Bomber?
Kansas City Bomber, yes.
She was a really good skater when we were young.
Oh, man. She could fit in that crowd really well. Cliff says, my moments of glory were the first kickoff in our first game. On special teams, I was the first guy to a stampeding guy returning to kick, put my shoulder down, and laid him up. Sweet, Cliff. That's my man. That's how you do
conversely, I wasn't that guy like Cliff is saying. Like, I guess I could say, even if it was an offensive line position, like I felt like that was where I was meant to be. If I had to tackle somebody, I felt like it made me tired. I remember in my fight, because I had to play both sides of the ball, you know. My last game ever, I had 3 sacks, and I was like not happy about it all. I'm like, God, can somebody else get him? I was so tired. It was a championship game we lost, and like it was like we had college rules that went to like 2 overtimes, 3 overtimes, 4 overtimes, whatever. And it was the same situation. I think we went to 3 overtimes and lost. And I was so tired because again, I played special teams and both sides of the ball too. but I felt like I could play all day on offense, but defense, it just made me tired. So when they say like, oh, the defense wears down, I get that. It to me, it's tougher to hit somebody than to get up from them hitting you, at least. I mean, it's almost like the Ali Foreman thing. How did Ali win? He let Foreman punch himself out.
Exactly. Well, you're absolutely right. And in today's NFL, they realize that, which is why on the defensive line, you've got rotations, and we've really reached an age in the NFL where you need 6 or 7 good defensive linemen so that your rotation is always operating at a high level, your defensive ends. The Bears have a problem, of course, with depth at the defensive line position. We saw in Hard Knocks the Bears failing to acquire Judon because they couldn't reach an agreement on his contract. And today, Eric Washington, the defensive coordinator, was asked about what kind of decisions are going to be made with the defensive end positions in terms of who's kept on and who isn't.
When you look at your defensive ends and when you try to make the decision by next Tuesday who gets to stay and who doesn't, do you judge them based on what they've done in camp or what you think they can become? How do you fight the balance of potential versus performance?
The balance of the work that we do in camp, and it really goes back to the off season, but especially when we start the live competition, all of those things matter. They count. It gives us an opportunity to make some projections, to anticipate, and also to evaluate the player's ceiling. I mean, how much more growth exists within that particular player, that person. So it's a combination of both things. There is a projection aspect, but it also comes down to just raw production and how much have we seen from that player from last year, if they're returning players, and how much growth have we seen in some of the rookies. So there is some projection and there's some empirical data that we use to just say, listen, this is where this person has gone. This is what we anticipate.
If you've got guys who've been banged up too, how does that enter your thought process when talking about projection?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little tougher, but you also have to look beyond or look even before what they've done before they were not able to participate, and there's a lot of projection in that. But also, the evaluation of the players. That the reason why they're here, there was an evaluation done before they were drafted, before they were signed, and during the off season, you look and you start to anticipate, where this particular player can go in terms of the following year and the jump that we anticipate them making.
As an extension of that, what's your interpretation of Hardy specifically and the production he's given through August?
It has really stood out. It has really stood out. As far as what we're asking that position to do, especially from a rush standpoint, he's been extremely active. The energy has been high. He's gotten quality wins in critical situations, and his effort has been phenomenal. And everything that we start from an evaluation standpoint starts with hustle. And I don't know anybody that stood out as much as he has.
Then on our next show, we'll be talking about who made the team, who didn't make the team from pass rush, for all the positions. And we'll be talking about potential pickups the following day of players who have been cut by other teams and have gone through waivers, and the Bears will have a chance to pick them up. And they'll have they won't have the first pick. They'll have the 8th or 9th pick based on the draft order. So I ask you, what do you think about this defensive line? Does it worry you that they didn't acquire Judon from the New England Patriots, who is a 30-year-old who, is a step or two above Ndakwe? Or do you think that these young guys are enough to gamble on that they can get us through the season, and we can get a season out of Austin Booker like we did out of Nick Anderson in that famous 2016?
There's no way for me to tell you the right answer. I'll just go back, not avoiding the question, but if this were 85, you'd be asking me, man, what about Todd Bell? Todd Bell's out. Al Harris is out. What do you think about Wilbur Marshall or Dave Duerson? Nobody knew yet, I mean, and it worked out just fine. Now, of course, Wilbur's a first-round pick, and these guys aren't first-round picks that we're talking about.
Right.
But there's just no way to know. But on paper, like the Hardy guy again was showing up, and then 94, Booker, the 5th-round pick, was looking good. And then I know it's a different position, but the gentleman 45. I have no idea how to say his name. Man, he looked good.
Yes. Amen. All I know is his first name. Amen. After that, it's a bunch of consonants and 2 or 3 vowels.
I don't want to be disrespectful to hit the culture of his name in any
Absolutely.
way. But man, he looked phenomenal too. And all these guys are in theory going to be backups if they make the team. So you have hopes, of course. I have no way of knowing. I'm sorry to be a coward on your question. I just don't know.
I love the response. Yeah, because I think none of us know. I think, my gut says that a lot of these players, the Bookers and the Hardys and so forth, they remind me a bit of other players who have had good camps. But then when the regular season happens, something. Yeah, so they don't remind me of that, but that's something that I fear. So
Igakwe's still out there, right?
Yes, he is. And so the reason that I think he hasn't been signed is he might not be 100% healthy. And so
he might not want to participate in camp.
Well, if that's the case, then do you really want him on your team? Somebody who doesn't want to.
You're 30 years old and you want to avoid the heat. I get it, man.
Yeah. Well, but see, I would too. I would say, like, no fucking way. I'm gonna wait till fucking November to sign when it's nice and cool.
I would think he would be a guy they would sign after the first game, so they wouldn't have to guarantee a salary.
Yeah, the thing that worries me about him is that what is it? There's 3 teams in 3 years, 4 teams in 4 years, something like that. And so, is there something else going on where he's just kind of not a malcontent, but maybe somebody in the locker room who just doesn't seem totally invested, And one of the great things about this team, and Montez Sweat talked about it, is the camaraderie that goes on. And in fact, he was asked about that today, Dan. Again, perfect segue here. Let's see. Maybe I didn't download it. So, I didn't. But he talked today about that the guys on the defense, one of the things that he was really interested in was the camaraderie, how they were getting along together. Actually, it was Eric Washington that was saying that. So maybe did I download that one? I did not. But and he says, is this something you've never seen in your other teams? He goes, no, I've seen it before. That's why it was easy for me to recognize this team is really together. There's a lot of friendships developing. They are the locker room is healthy and so forth. And that to me is so fucking huge. How many times have we seen really good teams that self-destructed because of the behavior that was going on? I think that, the Brandon Marshall season where he's yelling at Robbie, that fucking certainly didn't help. Now, there have been some teams like the Raiders of yesteryear that nobody fucking liked anybody, but they fucking played their ass off. So I guess it can work both ways. But personally, I would rather hear reports that the guys are really loving each other and they're hanging out together and that everything. Well,
just playing devil's advocate, you said that you acknowledged Brandon Marshall and that he told Robbie Gold to shut the fuck up. You're just a kicker, or whatever, which is true. But during that end of that era, you had Martellus, who's obviously a guy that's kind of mercurial, and everyone says that about Jay. And then you got Brandon Marshall on top of that, and they all sort of had their own individual personalities and quirks and stuff. So when all of those people were gone, it was supposed to be the dawn of a new era. That's what they were. John Fox has rebuilt the culture. That's what you kept hearing. The locker room, he's changed the culture. But man, I remember also that changed culture going 3-13 in 2016. So I mean, some of it's just sunshine blowing up your ass. It's just like is it really better? I mean, I'd rather have Brandon Marshall any day than to go 3-13. And I liked Brandon Marshall anyway. I'm just saying. But I remember, like Kaplan, for example, was doing segments on the show because they remember the NFL Network did a thing. A documentary that called Brandon Marshall the emotional leader of the team. And David Kaplan said, numerous people off the record told me that's a bunch of shit. He's not a leader and that nobody likes him and blah, 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 blah.
Interesting. I'd not heard that. By the way, Scottish Bear says it's money with Yannick. He wants $7 to $8 million. The Bears don't want to pay that. 5 to 6 with less guaranteed. The Bears are in contact with Yannick. So based on that, Scottish Bear, if that is all accurate, and I'm not saying that you are, not giving us accurate information,
But he's not Adam Schefter.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not Yannick's agent. This would make sense because it appears the Bears were looking at other options outside of Yannick. And so maybe they are holding Yannick as the last option. All right, we fucking struck out with a trade with these people or that person or blah, blah, blah. And so we got Yannick in our back pocket because he played with the Bears last season. So he doesn't need to catch up with the system. He just needs, to get in football shape, and so we can bring him in, next week after cutdowns. If there isn't a defensive end who is better than Yannick who falls to waivers, and that's not going to happen. It's just like the same thing with offensive tackles. Quality offensive tackles and quality pass rushers are not cut. I'm not saying never, but for the most part are never. For the most part are rarely cut. Just before the start of the season.
Released, it's usually something they've done off the field.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Or it's a contract, and they know that they're not going to be brought back or something like that.
So anyway, I think what we need here is some expertise from a economist from the socialist bent. Somebody who can tell us how this. Because really, Dan, this, the NFL runs a socialist money system. All the teams, all the revenue that comes in from TV and tickets is all put into a big pile. And
Bernie Sanders would advocate it.
Absolutely. I'm surprised.
Conversely, the baseball system is more like capitalism.
Right. And look how fucked up that is. I don't even follow baseball anymore. So maybe Karl can talk some sense into us, about how this all works. Karl, how are you, my friend?
I am doing lovely. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
You had to cut off the little sign I've got, huh? I see how it is. I see how it is. You son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's the way I work, man. I try to create enemies as soon as I meet them. This is the first time we've met. Your name is in quotation. So is that not your real name?
Oh, it's my real name.
Okay, why? So it's in quotations because of the Karl Marx joke?
No, it's you'll have to ask the other Dan, Dan Shortino.
Okay.
He'll be able to give a little bit of backstory. Let's just say my name is under speculation.
Okay, so you're pulling a nomad on us. You're not really
that's what it is. You've unlocked the whole beast. You've got it. Congratulations. One twist of the key, you got it.
Well, I hope you get along with Dan better than Dan got along with Nomad.
No, Nomad and I are
Me
cool.
too.
I know. You guys are cool, but there was a little, a little shit going on. Don't you think, Dan?
No, I like Nomad fine. I think sometimes maybe if it were just Nomad and I think we'd have been fine, but it was just Nomad and yourself and the other.
It's my fault.
There's like 4 people. It's kind of hard to get into a rhythm. I have nothing bad to say about Nomad. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so let me say this. The only issue I had with Nomad, he reminded me a little bit of Phil in that he had a really big ego because he's played the game. And Phil Otoshin played the game, and so felt like his opinion should be received and appreciated above all other opinions, especially the proletarians like Aldo and Dan, us low class, middle class people. So is that not fair then? And that there's maybe a little bit of similarity between my good friend Nomad and my once ago friend Phil Otoshin? He's always editing himself.
I don't know what to say to that. Again, I was a huge fan of Phil when I was just not on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Nomad came on, and we all had high hopes, and I don't necessarily think it was a bomb. It was just like chemistry, you know, for all of us, not just for myself or Nomad, that everyone decided it was better to go our separate ways. And the thing with Phil, I think, was different. I think the chemistry with you all was always there. It was just other things, you know, monetarily speaking, you know. So I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but I guess they both played and had a lot of certitude as a result of that. I think that's your comparison, and that part is valid, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, and hell, I was for 30, 40 years, whatever it was, a television producer. And so I feel like if you're going to challenge my television producing credentials or my opinion isn't valid, I'm going to get upset too. But I think that the thing with Phil and Nomad is that sometimes they feel like it's not that I am disagreeing with you, it's that I played the game. You know?
Right. I see that.
So anyway, nothing about that.
Not to dwell on that, what are like the heights that Nomad reached for him to have that kind of like listen to me attitude that you're explaining?
Well, I don't know, because, you know, he would not reveal his identity, which is something that we fought with.
Well, all I'm curious is if he's telling you that he's a former NFL or a college or anything.
Oh, no. I think college. He played college football, and I'm assuming based on things that he said that it was at a high level, and I have no reason at all to doubt him. And in talking football with Nomad, he knows his shit. There's no doubt about it. He knows his shit.
And like Phil, he enjoyed watching the film and stuff.
Yeah, so he can break down tape, which is a skill. Good. I will look at the all 22, and I gotta admit, Karl and Dan, within 5 minutes, I'm thinking about the fucking Bachelorette episode tonight. They're finally gonna fuck. What the hell? I've been waiting for this. So it's not my cup of tea, although I do like to think of myself as a student of the game, but man, my attention span isn't what it should be. Karl, are you a student of the game? Tell us a little bit about your partnership with football.
I'm a natural, man. I've got a nice little 20-minute video breakdown on Austin Booker's performance against the Texans.
Great. Where's that at?
On YouTube, on the Thine Smite YouTube channel. Very level-headed, very fair take. I'm being silly. I had a really bad take. I was essentially still sick from. I'm thinking it was COVID. I don't know what it was. So I'm in a bad state of mind, frustrated from being sick. And then I saw I'm bearing down on Twitter. He did a great job of putting out the all 22 of every play of Austin Booker. So I watched it once. I said, okay, this player's not getting, off the ball to sack the quarterback. He's not getting great push. He's not flashing. So I put that out on Twitter, and I essentially got attacked because how can you say anything negative about a Bears rookie player? So I made a YouTube video, 20 minutes, no take, and I got very, I wouldn't say aggressive, but I was very unfair towards Austin Booker. So all that to say, I've got some ways to go as far as watching film. But...
Well, I appreciate your honesty in that. That's, I know Dan and I value that very much, despite the fact that I personally, I can't speak for Dan, I've lied to my wives about multiple things over the years. Dan, you ever lied to one of your wives?
I've only been married twice.
I know, I'm sorry.
You sound like a Mitt Romney here. I'm from Utah, and I've got many, many wives.
Have you ever lied to any one of them, past or present?
I try not to. I mean, I can't say that I've never lied. I'm not infallible, but I feel like my word is the only thing that gives anybody a reason to keep me around. You know, I mean, I feel like I typically tell them I'm not mean. I'm not going to be like, well, I think you've gained too much weight or whatever, because I just have to tell you the truth. I'm not going to be a fucking dick.
Right.
But all things equal, I'd like to say the majority of the time I've told the truth.
Yeah, I wish I could say the same, but it's not true.
If I can comment on the video thing quickly, I'm sorry to step on your question to Karl. I'll tell you right now, I didn't learn to watch film well when I played, and my playing days is nothing to harp on. I'm here because I'm a fan. I mean, right. And I don't have any certitude or knowledge any more so than anybody else. I'm just a fan. And so the all 22, I could give a fuck about. I don't like red zone. I don't like.
Same here.
I don't like fantasy. I don't gamble. I'm here to watch the Bears. And that's what, instead of watching all 22, I'll rewatch the fucking TV copy and watch it like 3 times of last week's game, especially if they win.
Yeah.
Or be like, hey, let me show you week 8 of 1987. You know, like if it's a game they won, I remember, I want to watch that over. I don't want to break down the tape just to beat my dick and be like, look at me, I'm so smart. Not to say that's what other people do, but I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
And that was my main point, right? I had like a 4-minute little intro saying, hey, I don't have a college or an NFL background. I am nothing. I've never been in a professional football setting. This is my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and you know, I think what you guys are saying is really super relevant today, because there was a discussion about that. I forgot what forum it was, what TV show or whatever, but somebody criticized, I think, gosh, it was. Anyway, somebody criticized the fact that, you know, there's way too many all 22 experts nowadays, you know, because now that this footage has become available, and that we have gone away from really enjoying the drama of the game, the storytelling of the game, which I think Dan, for one, I've sat with Dan here watching old NFL films, tapes, and he's just like me. He gets into the drama. Oh yeah, on this play, at this point of the game, it was this and this and this. And I think that the majority of us are that way. And again, that's no aspersion at all to people who follow the tape, are student of the games. I wish I had that prowess. I wish I had that mental capacity to do that and talk intelligently about it, but I don't. What I rely on is just, it's like watching a movie to me. It's just week 1 contest, Bears and Titans. Is this going to be a happy ending movie for me? It better.
I'll give you another example of that point. In college, in my senior year, I had to call our football team's games on the radio. And I wanted to be the play-by-play guy of that scenario, but they had me basically trying to imitate John Madden or whatever. And I felt like I didn't have enough knowledge to do that. So the whole time I was studying just in case I got my shot to do play-by-play. But I learned through that year of games that, man, I don't like this. Because it was my outlet for life, for fun, was the Bears, for instance. And now you're taking what I view as fun and making it work.
Yeah.
And I decided based upon that, you know, I got an A in the class, whatever. The games I hope were entertaining to the people listening, but I felt like this isn't for me because I want to enjoy this. I don't want to be watching the game and trying to think and, well, who whiffed on that tackle or whatever. I don't want to have to break it down. I just want to fucking watch it because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan, let me piggyback off of that. I mean, shout out to the Bears Country podcast. I have not put a minute of like pre-thought into it because I too don't want to treat like this space as a job. This is an outlet for fun, and I'm here to enjoy the Bears. So when the Bears have a game on a Thursday, like what's coming up on our Thursday show, I will do a pregame, I will do a postgame, but I am not going to spend a minute of this time while the Bears are playing because that's my outlet. I want to enjoy the Bears.
Right.
I love it. And anyone can approach it whatever way they want, and nobody's wrong. Yes,
Correct.
Exactly. So
I mean, again, we mentioned Phil. We've got Danny Shimon, Berlissimo. These are people that I'm not saying aren't having fun when they're doing it, but they can watch the film and extrapolate it and make it make sense for even people like me, and they're really good at it. It's just that's not my strength, and that's not what I want. So I think that's what you were trying to say. We all have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, I think the 3 guys that you mentioned, I'm pretty sure they're all jerking off while they're watching Bears All 22. That's their porn. Mine is the old-fashioned, good old porn. You know, when I go to Pornhub, I hit the vintage tab. And there she is, Seika from Chicago. She just came back from Wrigley Field where she was sucking Ryan Sandberg's dick, and now she's going to suck some stranger's dick in this 16 millimeter or Super 8 film.
I want the true story. What was that manager's name? It said like, oh, the Cubs fans, they need to get a fucking job.
Lee Elia.
Yeah, Who was the first woman that sucked this guy's dick after that rant? That's who I want to talk to on the show.
Oh my God! And what a load!
Yeah, no pun intended. If anyone out there doesn't know that's the best press conference, or it wasn't necessarily, it's just audio. It's like the best thing you've ever heard in your life. He's like, the Cubs fans need to get a fucking job. They're on welfare. They're booing the players. Everybody else in America is at work except the Cubs fans. They can go fuck themselves and call them cocksuckers. I mean,
and print it.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, Les Grobstein was
with us here on the bar room.
That's right. Just before he passed away, he was here and he shared that story. He went down to the clubhouse. He was talking to fellow reporters. Some of them said, yeah, I'm going to go talk to players instead. And so he was the first one into Cubs manager Lee Elia's office. And they started talking about baseball. And all of a sudden, he just expressed his anger to the 6,000 fans who were booing the Cubs unmercilessly.
Back then, the Cubs didn't have lights. They had to play every game during the day.
Exactly. Well put, Dan. So that is classic. I wish I would have had that queued up. We could have played that because I do have the uncensored version somewhere in this mess that I call my.
On YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Oh,
it's just the audio, though.
Yeah, just the audio. Correct. There was no video at all taken of it. And by the way, who was it? Ryan Dempster, star pitcher of the Chicago Cubs. Karl, you a Cubs fan or Sox fan?
I'm a Sox fan.
Okay,
I
hear
really
ya.
enjoyed the World Series team, but past that, it's been really bad, man.
Very, very embarrassing bad.
Yeah.
And so, God, I forgot what I was going to say, but nonetheless, I want to do. I do want to shift things to Karl because I want our audience to get to know Karl a little more. Karl, tell us a little bit about. Give us your little elevator speech about who you are, what podcast you work on.
Before your question, can I make a comparison? Does Karl look like Kyle Orton a little bit?
I'll take that. I'll take it.
You don't think so?
Now that you mention it, yes.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I had a Steve Zimmerman kind of comparison, but no, Kyle Orton is better.
During his Bears days, I don't know what he looks like now. He looks like KO before the neck beard and all that shit. Like when KO was the 05 starter.
Yeah. I definitely believe that Kyle Orton is serving hamburgers somewhere.
Oh God!
But this Karl, not Kyle Orton. Karl looks like a younger version of Kyle Orton. I can definitely see that, and a much nicer beard than Kyle Orton has.
Sure.
Okay, Karl Marx, tell us about your socialist background.
My socialist background?
No. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I don't like I just said, I don't have anything prepared. So as far as an elevator speech, the Thy My podcast became of what it is because of me and my friend Nick wanting to do essentially what everyone else in the space is doing. We're talking Bears. Why not share it with everyone? Conglomerate with, an audience. So Nick and we went strong for a year, and then Nick had a little miracle enter into his life. He had a child. And since then, his free time has essentially dried up, of course. So, Mr. I don't even know how to compare this, but the other Dan Sorrentino, he said, hey, why don't you come on the show one time, have some fun? We had fun, and then next day or two later, he's reaching out saying, hey, we need a producer. You want to be a producer? I was like, all right, I'll do it. But I've had a blast with those guys. They're a lot of fun to hang out with, obviously. And again, it's all about, in this space, in my opinion, it's all about the conglomeration.
Yeah, we love the work that BCP does, and the other Dan is a great guy, Mr. Shorty. We know him by here. Dan is Karl pronounces it Sorrentino. Is that correct, Dan?
I'm almost positive it's not correct, but unfortunately, that was one of the first ways that Aldo got into my brain, right? Is I watched Bears Country podcast. Dan got the other Dan got mad at Aldo for mispronouncing his name, so Aldi's name got pronounced as Aldi, and here we are. So no offense to Dan S, Mr. Shorty, but his name out of my mouth is different 100% of the time. It's never the same thing.
I like that. I think we should keep people guessing on the proper pronunciation of their names because we're all too fixated on trying to get it right. We should just say, fuck it. This is what I think it should be.
That's what I tried to bring to BCP, was not lighten it up, but to make these guys laugh, because
I love it.
They're good guys.
And Karl, tell me about your association with the Bears. Have you been a Bears fan since you were a kid, or is this a recent development?
No. I've been a Bears fan since essentially I could remember. My first memory of the Bears was, honestly, I have to track back on this, because I used to say that my first memory was Desmond Clark scoring a touchdown against the Panthers in the 2005 year where they lost, where Desmond Clark got the touchdown. He threw his back against the, whatever you call it, against the stands, and they're giving him a massage like he's a boxer or something. But I actually think my first memory was that year, Steve Smith just tearing the Bears up. So all this to say, I'm a big Steve Smith fan as well. But ever since then,
try, baby.
I have very high expectations of the Bears, right? They had a really legendary defense in 2005. I'll stand by that. And then obviously 2006 was maybe not as good, but it was very good. And you add in Devin Hester, and all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl. So they haven't gotten back to that point since, in my fandom. Obviously, the 2018 was probably the second best option I've had as a Bears fan. But yeah.
Well, do you have a favorite player? Is there one player that made you fixated on the Bears, or it's just been kind of the game and the mythology of the team?
Favorite player? I mean, I'd be lying if Devin Hester wasn't my favorite player as a child. I know that you guys were previously just talking about your, like, I don't know if it'd be background football. Yeah, I know. I really want that picture, man. If you want to send it over my way, I'll share the address.
I'll put you in my will. You should get it any day.
But yeah, man, Devin Hester was amazing. He would be the player that I'd always try and replicate when I'm playing backyard or in the street football with my friends.
Excellent.
But I've got a Tillman jersey on right now. I think that the coolest thing about the Bears is just that not only did they play good defense, as that style of play was starting to fade away as the rules continued to shift towards the offense, but the Bears on defense, when they got the ball, they were not satisfied. They wanted to score touchdowns. And the only other team who I can think that's similar like that is maybe the Ravens. Okay. But other than that, I mean, I thought that the Bears, I really have always just liked that style.
Yeah. And that is so one of the things I like about Hard Knocks, and there's a few things that I don't like, but one of the many things that I like about Hard Knocks is that they immediately start each episode with the mythology of the Bears. It is the premier franchise of the National Football League. And the fact that the Lombardi Trophy is named after a Green Bay coach, I get it. He was sick, and so they made that good gesture, but they weren't thinking long term, and that trophy should be named the Georges Halas Trophy. If it's going to be named after anyone associated with a professional football team, which would probably not be a good idea. Lord Stanley Cup is the best trophy in all of professional sports. It's named after some English Canadian aristocrat. I don't know who the fuck he was, but that trophy should be the Georges Halas Trophy. And the whole mythology of the Bears is something that I would love. And Dan Aguirre and I have talked about this incessantly, that we need to teach history to younger fans, because it's so fucking fascinating, sports history of the Chicago Bears and the NFL. Right, Dan?
Absolutely. I feel like that is a big disconnect from everyone thinks their generation is better than the next. And I definitely fall into that. I find myself saying, like, why don't the millennials have an attention span? And like when I was a kid, I wanted to hear what my dad's favorite bands were. Like today's kids view all old bands seemingly as toxic waste.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Thank you for saying that, Dan. Yes.
So having said that, that's the way when I was a kid, I was like, I can get the TV copy of Super Bowl VI. Fuck yeah, I want that. So I was always seeking out I spent so much money buying games before I was born. I wanted to see how everything was from start to finish. And I would offer somebody like, oh, you're a 49er fan. I'll give you copies of all their Super Bowls and playoff games. Nobody would want it. Nobody's interested in history. And
Yeah.
I when I was a
That's
kid,
a
it felt like
shame.
all the other fans I knew was, and the NFL films, like you said, meant so much. But like the night before the Super Bowl, ESPN would show like all the NFL highlights of all the Super Bowls prior, and I would stay up all night watching those, even though I had them on VHS anyway. I just, but you don't get that. Like, I feel like if, no offense to anyone specifically, but if we talk to any average fan from the 2000s and ask them about a random Super Bowl from, 20 years ago, they wouldn't even know what I was talking about.
All right. So both, Karl, you agree with Dan?
I really like Dan's point about how especially the current generation are very aggressively negative towards anything that precedes them. That is a fact. Yeah. I would like to also point out I'm maybe a little bit of blame as far as like what Dan is saying. Yes, I think that I'm a little bit more than just the average fan, but if you ask me specifics about even the Bears history, I'm lacking there. So that's something that's bad.
Did you say you were whacking there?
Yeah. No.
Lacking
with an L.
I know. It's just I put Iceberg Slim's avatar on there, and the word whacking immediately came to mind. And you said,
I wonder
whacking.
why. I wonder why, Mr. Aldi.
How much? All jokes aside, again, not labeling one specific listener or viewer or anyone. I'm not calling out anyone specific, but how? I hate to use the word arrogant, but just about anything, history, sports history, music, whatever. How arrogant do you have to be to think that nothing, like he said, that preceded your birth is relevant? Like there's many kids that don't know anything about World War II, for example.
Well, okay, so those are separate things. I mean,
I'm going to agree with Dan here.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to say I think that it bleeds into everything. I also think that there might be a bit of a big bang moment for these kids when they finally find something that precedes them in life where they think it's really cool, and it just opens that door for them, right? They'll say, okay, I need to figure out what's going on with this song or this game or whatever the case is.
I agree with you, but let me play devil's advocate here, is that because when I've talked to young sports fans about, what happened with Gale Sayers, one of my childhood heroes, who cares is the type of response that I get. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the overall attitude about sports that happened before they were watching sports, they feel it's not important. And if you look at the human mind and that it has a certain capacity, they're like, I'd rather think about what video game I'm going to play and the Bears on Sunday than thinking about the Bears on Sunday and what happened with the Bears on Sunday in the 1970s. Is that not fair?
It's very fair. Have you guys seen kind of what has happened recently with the Jordan and LeBron debate?
I was going there. I swear on my mother's
take it away.
grave.
Take it away. Take it away.
I was going to say the people that look, Aldo can say, I'm not a Jordan fan in terms of like the way the Chicago fans are. I'm not anti-Jordan. I'm again, I was a fan of Isaiah, for example. So, but having said that, I lived through the Jordan era for the most part. When I started watching the Bulls, it was somewhere, 87-ish. So I lived through most of that. And most of the people that I know that watched that era of basketball are going to be pro-Jordan on who's the best ever. Or they might say, well, I didn't see Bill Russell or what have you. Right. But it's today's kids that think LeBron is the best. Even if you were going to go somewhere moderate, you'd have to go to Kobe, I think. But the ones that are always arguing that LeBron is the best didn't see any of Jordan's games except on highlights, man. They just clearly didn't see Jordan play.
Right. And they will flex those statistics, right? They'll say, oh, if Jordan was a player today, his points per game would be 20th best. So that means that he's bad. He was playing against invalid opponents. All these things.
Great point.
The only statistic that should matter is his finals record. Is it 6-0 for Jordan? So
in an era where they can't hand check, and you can't really foul. Right. And there's a zone defense. I mean, God, Jordan would probably put 10 more points a game on average than what he averaged in his career.
Right, if they couldn't touch him like
Yeah,
nowadays, right?
God.
And
I mean,
I'm
again,
no
I'm not a
basketball
Jordan Mark.
expert, but
I'm not a Jordan Mark here. But I'm just saying I watched it. Like I definitely watched all of his run from can't beat Detroit to can't lose in the finals. I saw all of that start to finish. So if you give this guy more leeway, I mean, come on. I mean, it's hard not to say that he was the best. And if you were going to say he wasn't, again, you have to maybe say Bill Russell or maybe Magic or Kareem or Bird, maybe. I don't know. But look, LeBron deserves a lot of respect. He's going to be in the league now like 20 years. I give it to him, but he's more like a poor man's Magic Johnson anyway. He's not Jordan. Like Kobe's more Jordan than anybody else I've seen.
You know, I think that is a fascinating topic, the whole Jordan versus LeBron thing. And when it comes to NBA basketball, it's the best of all the team sports to pick an individual player and say, is he better than this individual player from another team? Because all the other team sports have more players on the field or the ice or whatever. And so it's a harder topic to talk about. But I do think that the best way to discuss these topics are more to look at in a micro level as opposed to a macro level. Like Karl, between LeBron and Michael Jordan, who is the best athlete?
See, that's where like your definition of athlete really matters, right? Because as Dan just pointed out, LeBron has been in the league for this long. Obviously, he's had the added motivation to eventually now play with his child, which is unheard of, by the way. But I don't know. I mean, again, when you look at Jordan, he's just so freaking explosive, man. And so is a young LeBron, obviously his crazy dunks, all that stuff. As far as a better athlete, though, I don't know. Again, it depends on your definition.
What do you think, Dan?
In terms of looking at their bodies, if that's what you're saying, like who's more athletic, then LeBron's got the more of a prototypical like body. You know,
Right.
like
He
LeBron
could play in the NFL, right?
Yeah, LeBron could fuck somebody up. I'm not saying Jordan couldn't, but LeBron looks more like a statue than Jordan in terms of his actual his cut. And LeBron's tall. So he looks the part more, but man, again, I know we all like our own era, but I just keep saying I'm not a Bulls fan. I wasn't anti-Bulls by any stretch. I rooted for them in most of the finals, if not all of them, actually. Jordan, it's hard for someone to actually sit there and watch the Jordan games to not put him over as the best of all time. It just really is.
And I agree. I think he is the best basketball player of all time. But those things are hard to prove, but it's a little, in my mind, maybe I'm wrong, it's a little easier to discuss or to compare certain micro parts of them as basketball players, like who's the most athletic. In my mind, I think LeBron James is the most athletic player of maybe even any fucking sport that I've seen. I mean, the fact, and because I attribute longevity so much to being athletic, and the fact that this motherfucker is still playing at such a fucking high level at his age is fucking phenomenal. And I'll add another fuck to that because it fucking is phenomenal. And I'm not sure Jordan could have done that. One of the things that I noticed, that 6th NBA championship, I wanted the Bulls to come back for that 7th championship. But in my mind, I said to myself, I think they've run out of gas, And now, again, different eras. Jordan felt obligated to play all 82 games because of his competitive spirit. LeBron is willing to sit the entire regular season in order to win a championship. Although I'm exaggerating, but the one thing I think is a differentiator between those two players is Jordan was a killer winner. He would look LeBron in the face, slap him, kick him in the balls, do whatever is necessary to win, and he would achieve it, where LeBron would pass the ball to somebody else.
Can I say one thing?
I wonder if Jordan has any like public comments on load management. Wonder what he thinks about
Ooh.
load management.
Yeah, tell me about it, Karl. Go ahead, Dan.
This is just to rile you up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I will say, who else can say that they beat Jordan in his prime? He beat Bird in his prime. He beat Magic in his prime. Isaiah Thomas.
All right, next topic. Karl, I am not an Isaiah Thomas fan. I know he's from Chicago, and I love guys
Isaiah.
who went through the Chicago streets and came out ahead and so forth. But there's no doubt in my mind that this guy is a phony. He is a liar. He's a cheater. He's just not a good person. Does he have some good qualities? Of course he does. There's no doubt about it. But I'm just focusing on the things that I dislike about him. Isaiah Thomas did win with the Detroit Pistons, but I thought they won in a way that was against the
I'll say
true.
to you in this argument what people say to me. And again, to use Bill's term, busting balls, that's what I'm doing now. When I say I hated Aaron Rodgers, people would say, oh, but you would love him if he were a Bear. Oh, you'd love Brett Favre if he were a Bear. Maybe that's fucking true, but I can't acknowledge that because I just hate him so much. And I'm sure that's the way you are, but had Isaiah been a Bull, everything you hate about him, you would love him.
I will say this. I hated the idea of Dennis Rodman joining the Bulls.
And you loved him when he got here.
I would have sucked Dennis Rodman. To use your words about Aaron Rodgers. I certainly changed my tune after, they went on a 10-game winning streak, and it was because Rodman was rebounding the shit out of them. No doubt about it. But Isaiah is still a scumbag. All right, let's talk Chicago Bears football. I planned a little game, Dan Aguirre, so that we can play with Karl, and it's called Sucks or Studs. We're going to talk about certain players and get your opinion on whether the guy sucks or studs, or is a stud. And so, Karl, one of the guys that we love talking about on this show because he is a polarizing figure is Aaron Rodgers. So when I went to downtown Chicago, I asked people about Aaron Rodgers. Does he suck or studs? This is what they said, and then we'll talk about it. Aaron Rodgers.
Stud.
Stud.
Sorry, I know we're not Green Bay fans, but we're going. But you're keeping it 100. The man is stud. He's a stud.
Aaron Rodgers.
Sucks.
Well, I mean, his record proves itself. He's a stud. I hate to admit it because he's a Packer. I'll always see him as a Packer. And I hate him owning Soldier Field, but yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a stud.
I hate Aaron Rodgers. So he's a stud. He's a great quarterback, but he's 1-6 in NFC Championship games. Go fuck yourself, Aaron Rodgers.
Dan, when that last guy said he's 1-6 in NFC Championship games, I thought about you. I guess you're always saying that.
Yeah, it's true. I always see a meme. I haven't shared it myself, but it's true. It's like, remember, Rex Grossman has as many NFC Championship wins as Aaron Rodgers.
So, well, let's talk about it. I want Dan, you to further comment about your opinions about Aaron Rodgers, but let's start with Karl. I'm interested in knowing what he thinks about Aaron Rodgers. Does he suck or is he a stud?
Today?
Yes, today.
Yes, because over the entirety of his career, he's exceptional. I hate to say it. I'm trying. I found the video that me and PJ and the Bears Country podcast did, where we actually ranked the quarterbacks.
Oh,
so we
ranked
share
that?
I can either get you a screenshot or I'll give you the URL. I don't know what works best for you.
I think if you have it downloaded to your computer, I think you can go down to present.
Oh yeah,
and then video file and
the producer. Good little moment for me here. Let me share my screen here.
Okay.
Yeah.
While Karl is doing that, Dan, why don't you share your thoughts on whether Rodgers is a sucker or a stud?
I mean, come on, he's a stud. Yeah, he hasn't gotten it done in the postseason, but we've been mentioning NBA, it would be like saying Charles Barkley wasn't a stud because he didn't win a title. Dan Marino wasn't a stud because he didn't win a Super Bowl. I mean, there are a lot of great players that don't win championships. And Rodgers has won one, actually. He beat us in the title game. So I can't take any of that away from him. He could come back and have a great year with the Jets this year. Like, I'm still afraid of him, for sure. I root against him wholeheartedly. I still, like, if you told me he got hurt again in week 1, I'd say, so, okay, good.
You'd applaud.
Yeah, so I was coming back from that debacle last year when Fields lost to Jordan Love on opening day. I had just gotten back in my car at the airport, returning from Chicago, and was driving when I heard Aaron got hurt in that game on Monday Night Football, and I was like, this is fucking great.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not rooting for him to get hurt, but when he got hurt, I was like, yay. But anyway, the short answer is, the guy's a stud. He's definitely not a bum. He's just bad in playoff games.
Before Karl shares his video with us, I just want to say that as a football player, Aaron Rodgers is a stud. Has been his entire career. He probably will be with the New York Jets this season. But as a human being, this motherfucker sucks. And I hate his fucking guts. And if he were to have a heart attack tomorrow or something related to COVID, I would be happy. All right, Karl.
Well, don't stare off my guest. BCP is going to have Aaron Rodgers as our next guest next Thursday. I'm just kidding. I don't know, Aldi, if you can throw up the graphic I'm sharing right now.
Yeah, I can.
So, this compilation here is not of just Karl's thoughts.
Okay.
But this is also a combination of PJ, and I believe what we did, unfortunately, was say the further left in this graphic they are, the better they are. So it's almost like a snake a bit. So we have Aaron Rodgers as the second best quarterback in the NFL. He absolutely, as you guys have said, is a stud. Now, I personally don't know if I would put him as the second best quarterback in the NFL behind Mahomes, but it's the boogeyman factor. He is him until proven otherwise. So if he's going to come back and be healthy, I have no reason to doubt him at this point. I'm very, very high on Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, and I honestly think that those guys could be a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. But again, guilty or until proven otherwise, he is the boogeyman. Absolutely a stud.
Did you present these on BCP?
Yeah, this is BCP's video.
So why is PJ sleeping?
Yeah, I know. I couldn't have picked a better image for us, right?
At what point did
no, he's awake.
At what point did you scare PJ into unconsciousness?
This could have been from July 4th. I can't remember, but
it's good stuff. I love the graphic. I love the way you've outlined it. I don't think I would have, if I would have been a part of this poll, there's no way I would have had Rodgers right behind Mahomes, only because of the level of success. Oh, Jesus, he's won one Super Bowl, and no one else in that A category has won one.
Wrong. Matt Stafford has won a Super Bowl. Shocking breaking news.
There you go. That was fucking a system win, not a Matt Stafford.
You are correct, but
yeah. Well, that's great. Really well done. Very well done. All right.
I will say Stafford had a great playoff game against Tampa Bay when they beat Brady.
Yes, and he did indeed. Very, very well put. All right, let me go on to the next person that we asked about Sucks or Stud. This is a short one here.
I think Cole Kmet's a little bit overrated. I was interested in Brock Bowers, but I do think you need the size that Kmet has, and Bowers doesn't have it. So I'm hoping he's a stud. He needs to be.
That guy's a pipsqueak. I did not like that video.
Oh, interesting. I thought that guy's opinions, while I didn't always agree with them, I thought that guy's opinions were very well thought out and reasonable. But, you can answer this question as somewhere in between sucks or stud, because that's where I would place Cole Kmet. Karl, what are your thoughts on Cole Kmet? Sucks? Stud? Okay.
Stud, top 10 tight end in the NFL.
Why? Why?
Have you seen this play recently?
Oh, I've seen it. But
he's already a reliable pass catcher. He's a darn good blocker for a pass-catching tight end. He's not as good of a blocker as a Kittle, right? He's still a very capable blocker at the minimum. But he looks fast this year, guys. He's coming out of those breaks. He literally outran Caleb Williams on that play against Buffalo. So I'm expecting a big year out of Kmet. I also want to shout out Tooch here. Tooch, I was watching the fantasy football video that you guys were doing live stream yesterday.
Yeah.
He's of the opinion that Gerald Everett was a bad signing. I don't know if Gerald Everett was a bad signing, but I don't want anyone in here to think that Gerald Everett's going to gain like 500 yards this year. He's going to play a minuscule role, in my opinion.
Totally agree. Good point by Tooch and good reiteration by you. Dan Aguirre, what do you think about Cole Kmet? Sucks or stud? I know you were disappointed with his early output, but what say you now?
Yeah, early on, he was like he was on skates. He was constantly falling down and dropping passes, and if someone just stuck out a banana peel, he would fall down. He was constantly on the ground, man, and seems soft. Yeah, he's definitely proven me wrong and shut me up. Not that he needed to, but he's made some really great catches. That one specifically in Atlanta last season was just phenomenal. Or was that 2 years ago? Was that last year? I think it was 23 now.
Yeah,
or 22. Yeah, but he's earned his contract, but I still don't want to say, oh, he's a super stud. I think he's in the middle, but he could ascend.
Right. If Karl were to have done a graphic like he did with the QBs, I think what you would have seen at the superstar level would be Travis Kelce and who else? Certainly not Cole Kmet.
Kelce is kind of like the boogeyman effect too. I'd consider him by himself until proven otherwise.
San Francisco's tight end.
Yeah,
George Kittle.
Mark Andrews are the next group of guys that come to mind there.
Okay, so and I think you could fairly put Caleb in that next level. Kmet, excuse me. The thing that I'm concerned about is whether he can, from a statistical category, improve on the numbers that he's had in the past, given that the Bears have added more weapons.
I've got some bad news for you.
Please.
Well, you actually finished the point perfectly. The Bears added a lot of talent at the wide receiver room.
Right.
So I don't know how a tight end who had a very good statistical season could improve in that scenario.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I think that I would be happy if he delivered. What was it that he has, Karl? Do you know? 6-8 touchdowns last season?
I don't have it off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, because if he can deliver that same amount and provide, really, what is the most important thing that Cole Kmet can provide is good blocking, first and foremost. Second is reliability with his hands. I don't care if he's catching a 1-yard pass or 11-yard pass, but he has got to hold on to passes, not turn the ball over, and so forth. We got so many fucking playmakers on this team, and what the third thing that I want him to do is to be reliable when he's in the red zone, because he's going to get his looks in the red zone. There's going to be, in some cases, we might even see double coverage on one of the 3 wide receiver studs that we have, somebody who's having a hot game and so forth. And so Kmet is going to be one-on-one so often, and all he needs to do is catch the ball and spike it. All right, let's go to the next guy. Such a stud, Ryan Post.
I'm going to say stud right now. I think that we've positioned ourselves well over the last couple of years, and I thought look, everyone thought this draft was a winning draft. I think the Fields play was bold and good, and that's what I like to see is somebody that's going to be aggressive. So, exciting.
Karl, I want to start with you, and then we'll go to Dan. Is Ryan Post a sucker of hard cock or a stud among all GMs?
He's a stud. He's the one with the hard cock doing the penetrating, if you know what I mean. I really, really, really like that he was able to go out and be aggressive and try and acquire Judon. But it wasn't a classic, terrible Ryan Pace move where he just threw everything at the kitchen sink, made a bad move on his way out. That's not what happened. He agreed to a 3rd-round pick in addition to a contract. That contract did not come to fruition, and such, Judon is a member of the Falcons. But overall, this team is not only competitive, but it also feels like it's built for the long haul. which the 2018 team by pace could be a little bit better, more competitive, but that team had no longevity, as we saw.
By the way, Dan, before I get your comments on it, I just want to say that Iceberg Slim, every comment that he makes is going to be like $100 donation to the barroom, just so I can get a better look at his girlfriend or his wife. Jesus. I think he told us it was his girlfriend, but maybe it's his wife. She's lovely, Iceberg, and God damn, am I jealous. Anyway, Dan Aguirre, what do you think about whatever the fuck we were talking about?
We're talking about Ryan Poles, and I'm going to put Poles again somewhere in the middle now, but ascending. I can't disagree with what Karl stated there, but I guess the reason I'm holding out right now, because the Bears still haven't won anything.
Yes.
And he's been incapable thus far of building an offensive line, or at least one that you can look at and say, oh, we fixed it. Because I thought being an offensive lineman himself, he'd come in and fix it quicker. Yeah. But maybe he did. And the product of all of his work will show itself and manifest in the 2024 season. But we still have to see it. So I think he's on the rise. I like him, and I have high hopes for him. And I think he's much better than his predecessor, Mr. Pace.
Karl?
Agreed. I just wanted to say two things. The first thing that came to my mind is if you have any issues with the Bears' offensive or defensive lines, this upcoming draft, the Bears currently have 3 picks in the top 64. At least 2 of those picks will absolutely be spent on linemen, whether it's offense, defense, whatever combination. Could be all 3 of those picks. So if there's any issues this year, I'm positive that they will be fixed going into next year. And next year is going to be a very exciting year. But the best offensive lineman that the Chicago Bears may have ever drafted could be named Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is showing you that his outside of the pocket play is elite and second only or third only to Mahomes and Rodgers. Rodgers currently, no. Those days are gone. But the way that he's able to manipulate the pocket and escape issues that the Bears may have in the interior offensive line, I think that you're going to see players like Tevin Jenkins, who are already good, be viewed even that much better just because of the play of Caleb Williams.
Well, Fields could get away too, though. And
well, he had no intentions to throw the ball down the field. I don't want to touch that topic. But what I'm saying is Caleb Williams can get out of the pocket or step up into the pocket to elude the pressure that the guard, Nate Davis, may have allowed in so that he can deliver a pass down the field.
That's
instead of running for 3 yards and getting a late hit and getting a concussion or breaking his hand.
Another question before we go to the next stud. Given what we've seen, I think there's a chance that Nate Davis is not even the starter. Does anybody disagree?
I don't think he'll be a cap casualty, but it very well could be that Coleman Shelton is the center and Matt Pryor has played his way into the starting guard.
Or even Ryan Bates. I know there's injury issues there. That's one of the reasons why tomorrow's game is going to be fascinating to watch. And I hope the fucking broadcasters get it and tell those storylines as opposed to, fucking interviewing Caleb. Yeah, exactly. That whole bullshit. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, and none of the 3 broadcasts I've seen, again, one was the Buffalo announcers, one was on ESPN or wherever, the national television, and then I had the Bears announcers on Saturday. None of the 3 broadcasts even said who the starting offensive linemen were. They didn't even show the lineup.
Yeah,
it pisses me off. I mean, these producers are making $200,000, $300,000 a year, and they can't fucking phantom what us fans are craving is more information on position battles. That's the whole fucking reason to have preseason game is who is going to win the job at that position. Tell us that story. Get in depth about it. Appeal to us because it's only the fucking diehard fan that is watching that. Trust me, Dad isn't getting the entire family to watch a preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just Dad, so appeal to Dad. I'm off my rant. I'm going on to the next.
Well, Tom Waddle said for years he'd have never made the team had there not been that final preseason game. So that's important for players not less than, but that don't have the hype of a Caleb Williams.
Thank you.
And to Dan's point, if Dan's watching the ESPN broadcast and the Buffalo Bills broadcast, it would be asinine to not really drive the point of Caleb Williams home. He's the hottest thing since sliced bread, so I understand that. I thought that Adam Amin did a good job for the most recent game, or whatever game he broadcasted for the Bears.
He
I
does.
just want them to show the starting lineup. Just show who's playing. They haven't even done that.
Yeah,
but
that
that's
is
not
correct.
Adam's fault. That's the producer's fault. Because I have a familiarity with the production of preseason games when I worked at WBBM, and it's the producer who presents the plan to the announcers. Okay, here's what we're going to cover. And 99 times out of 100, those reporters are going to be like, okay, they're not challenged. They're not going to say we should do this, we should do that, and maybe Adam should have. But it's the producer is first and foremost to blame for shit like that. All right, let's move on to a guy who I know everyone is going to say is a stud. I know everyone, but I'm dying for Dan Aguirre to share his story about this player.
Brian Urlacher.
Oh, stud.
Stud.
That was the Monsters of the Midway, yeah. Stud. Number 54, linebacker, yeah.
I got that jersey at home.
Dan, I know you will say that Brian Urlacher on the field was closer to a stud, much closer to a stud than sucking. But tell me your true feelings about Brian Urlacher.
I just want to start this all off. Urlacher is a stud in every sense, right? Because he's literally hitting Paris Hilton off stage, right?
No, not every sense. And Dan will explain.
Go ahead, Dan, please.
Well, let me say, in his 2000 rookie year, I bought his jersey. He started, I think his first game was in Lambeau, I believe, as the starter in week 4 or 5 of 2000. By 01, the team was flying around and winning 13 games, and he had Ted Washington and Keith Traylor up front, and he seemed to be in that defensive scheme was going to be a star there too. It was already a star. Then Lovey put him in the cover 2 when he was younger and had the athleticism to back up. He was still great. As he got older, that was more difficult for him, but just time caught up for him. But yeah, I can't say that there weren't times that he was overrated, but I can't say that he wasn't a stud. But I can say the things that rubbed me wrong, being a guy that loves the Bears and loved him early on. Mentioned Paris Hilton. The report was his wife found out that he was cheating on her on TV with all of us the night Soldier Field reopened in 03, and he had Paris Hilton there. That kind of sucks. You remember in 01, he has to pick 6. He's hitting on the Atlanta cheerleaders. He's already married. But okay, I'm not the morality police. But a lady that he had a child with, and this was in the Sun Times, it wasn't on the internet or just some made up shit, went to court and alleged that Urlacher was purposely fucking with their kid, was putting him in female clothing and painting his nails and telling him to say things that this is pretty. And she said was intentionally trying to skew the kid's sexuality at a young age at 3 or 4. To me, that's monstrous. I'm not anti-trans or any of that shit either. But if you're fucking with a kid's sexuality, especially when they're that young, allegedly, that gives me pause. And then like 07 comes around, they lose the Super Bowl. Suddenly Urlacher's like a dick to the media. Oh, talk to Jay Glazer, go to foxsports.com or one word answers. By the time Cutler gets traded to the Bears, Urlacher gets hurt in week fucking 1, and the whole season is sitting around saying things like, I don't think we should have traded KO. I think we're throwing the ball too much. I think he's throwing too many interceptions. Before that, the day of the trade, he and Bobby Wade called Cutler a pussy. And one thing we know about Cutler is he was tough as fucking nails. Whether or not he didn't, protect the ball well enough or didn't smile enough, okay, but the guy was tough. And Urlacher was a big part of the chemistry of that team not coming around Cutler. Maybe they go to the Super Bowl if they rally around the guy. No, I'm just trying to look, man, the thing with, I'm reading the comment there. The thing with the kid is I don't even have kids, but the sexuality thing with this kid, if that were true, is really fucked up.
And Dan, I just want to jump in. Though something like that, an allegation like that, must have happened before the Me Too movement. I really don't want to piss anyone off, but I feel like something like that would have more weight and more potential validity, which is really disheartening.
By the way, go ahead.
One more thing. After he got, it's not that he got cut; his deal ran out, and the Bears didn't re-sign him. And he went to Fox Sports 1 after that and constantly ripped the Bears and said he hoped that they lose. Every week he was on there saying he can't root for the Bears, and he was so bitter. And stuff like that does bother me. And I honestly didn't think he was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Were those comments coming after Lovie Smith had been let go by the Bears?
Yeah, but that was during
that tells the story right there. I mean, they bought into Lovie Smith so freaking much. I don't know if I've seen another relationship like that with a coach. I don't think that Lovie was a Hall of Fame head coach by any means, but he was pretty good, and his players really beloved him. So when they got rid of Lovie after a good record, I forgot what it was. Was it 9?
That's where I'm going.
7? Yeah.
The other Dan always calls me like this big Lovie lover, and I did like Lovie, but let me point out,
lover.
I don't think people remember, because they always say Lovie was 10-6, but you have to look at the context. Lovie made the playoffs 3 times as a head coach with the Bears. That's it. 3 times. Karl, I don't know if Karl can hear me.
Yes, he can. He's got his
Lovie only made the playoffs 3 times as a coach with the Bears, and so they lose the championship game in 2010. They come back, they're 7-3 in 2011, don't make the playoffs, and then 2012 they're 7-1 and don't make the playoffs. So the context matters. You have 2 back-to-back meltdowns, 7-3, granted with Cutler's thumb, 7-1. But they could have signed McNabb, who was begging to get signed on the radio every fucking week. And they didn't. They just kept playing Caleb Haney. So
Mount Carmel, shout out Mount Carmel.
That's what got Jerry Angelo fired, was that first meltdown. So the second one, Lovie kept his job, and now you got a new GM, and you're 7-1 and don't make the playoffs. Like, I like Lovie, but those 2 meltdowns back to back is the reason he got fired. That's the reason at 10-6 he got fired, because 10-6 also missed the playoffs.
What was the year that he got fired?
After 2012.
Okay, yeah. So, and you said that Urlacher was a rookie 12 years before that?
Urlacher played from 2000 to 2012. That's correct.
So that's a really good full circle moment for the stream here.
04 to 12, he was with Lovie.
Right. And you made a really good comment, or mentioned earlier, that when you were playing football on both ways, both sides of the ball, as a defensive player, you'd get tired easier.
Oh, absolutely.
That defense, they held onto that personnel too long. They let them get too old. They put too much faith in them as if they were a fan. And that's what ultimately was happening, right? That defense, as the season progressed, would allow more and more stuff because they were more and more tired. So yeah,
I think Lovie was too stubborn in the scheme too.
Yes,
because by the time
my way or the highway, yes.
Yeah, the cover 2 didn't work in 2012 football the way it did in 2005.
Trust me, I fucking hate the 4-3. I hate it. So
really,
but let me just say one more time. I know I just said this, but people really please listen to this. Lovie only made the playoffs 3 times. 05, 06, and 10. That's it.
But it does include a Super Bowl appearance, which is a lot more than just a measly, Buccaneers playoff run from this past year or whatever.
Good stuff, guys. Let's move on to our next sucks or stud candidate, and it is former Bears safety Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson, a stud. He was the one. Eddie Jackson, no.
He lost it, though. He lost it.
Eddie Jackson was the one that always knocked the ball out of the receiver's hands.
No, that's Charles Tillman, dude.
No. It was Peter Tillman, but okay, forget it. I don't care.
Eddie Jackson, he was good at a point in time. He was good at a point in time. Eddie Jackson had some great years, seemed like he tailed off a little bit. I think he's a stud. I never thought he sucked. I thought he had a little bit of downtime, but I don't think he's finished yet.
All right, so that last guy totally represents one of the aspects of this exercise that I love, is because you can judge a guy as a stud because your memories of him at his prime of his career, you say he's a stud, he's going to be forever a stud. There's no fucking arguing. The last couple of seasons of Eddie Jackson's career, he was far from a stud, and that he sucked dick I'm being generous.
Yes.
The last few years of Eddie Jackson's career, he sucked stud like a 1980s porn queen. So I want to ask you guys, how do you evaluate Eddie Jackson? Dan Aguirre, you begin.
Eddie Jackson had a really good 2018. I remember that play on Thanksgiving when he intercepted Stafford, had a pick six, and you could just see before the play he read the play that was coming, and it was brilliant. And he was making all he made a lot of money based upon what he did in 2018, and then he got hurt when the game you were at when last time we beat Green Bay period in 2018 and clinched the division.
Mm-hmm.
And coupled with the fact he got paid and then was hurt, he was never the same again.
Never.
And I'm saying he was good in 18, okay in 17. I think he sucked in 19 and 20 and 21 and 22 and 23. I think Eddie lost his heart when he got paid, and I don't mean to be a dick. He was a little undersized anyway. Look, he's got money. He's going to be fine, and I wish him well. But, man, as a Bear, he sucked. He had 1 year.
Karl?
Before 2018, he was really good too, right? He had that crazy game against the Panthers. I think that the answer to the question is with a question. What number Eddie Jackson are we talking about? I think it was AC Adam in chat said 39 was him. 39 for the Bears was a stud. But as his career progressed and teams were able to identify his lack of strength at tackling, that's when it started to go downhill.
His lack of bravery at times, it appeared.
Yeah, very, very much so. I like the lack of bravery. Yeah, and then kind of the mishaps I always attribute sometimes the back half of Eddie Jackson's career with that terrible play against the Rams where the guy caught the ball, wasn't touched down. Shit like that pisses me off. But yeah, I'm losing the train of thought that I had here with Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson is in a really good situation for his career now with the Baltimore Ravens. He's going to be essentially the third safety, and that allows Kyle Hamilton to be this ultimate chess piece on defense to essentially line up wherever the fuck they want him to play against the best offensive player that they're playing that week. And Eddie Jackson could be set up for a really nice end to his career.
Interesting. Well done, Karl. Okay, so here is my last one, and it's a player that I kind of hold in a very similar vein to Eddie Jackson. It's Kyle Long.
Kyle Long, I mean, too short of a time with the Bears, but I mean, God, he was gifted. You know, he was definitely gifted. He had the lineage. So, you know, I'm a Bears fan, diehard, and I know he played with other teams afterward, but I don't think I could ever say any of them sucked because he was good when he was healthy. When he was healthy. That's the key word.
Again, like Eddie Jackson, I can see why some people would lean more towards sucks. I don't think he ever really sucked, but I could see why people would not put him in the studs category because even in his best year, a lot of people said Kyle Long the NFL is trying to make Kyle Long a superstar because of his father, Howie Long. And that's why he made the Pro Bowl and he was being propped up. He was an adequate guard in his prime, but he never really was a stud. What do you say, Dan Aguirre?
Disagree. Kyle Long was solid in 13, solid in 14. And in 15, the Bears decided they were going to move him to tackle a week before the season started, as opposed to give him the entire season to transition. And he made that move and was doing okay. Unlike Eddie got hurt in that game against Green Bay. He was in uniform again against the Eagles a couple weeks later, didn't play, but he was still dressed. Kyle, if you juxtapose that, basically had a career-ending injury in Tampa Bay. It was just massive. I mean, the guy was carded. It was nasty. And he tried to come back and was never the same. And he had a devastating injury in Tampa Bay. Kyle Long, there's no way you could say was a bum or sucks. When he hadn't had that injury in Tampa Bay, he'd probably still be with the Bears.
Karl?
Yeah, honestly, I almost want to just say that I fully 100% agree with Dan. I mean, to say anything other than Kyle Long was a stud would be wrong. Kyle Long was awesome, and as Dan's kind of going through that situation of explaining how a really good, talented guard was moved to tackle and back and forth and dealing with injuries, we have the story on the Bears right now. This is almost the heir apparent to Tevin Jenkins. I think that Tevin Jenkins has all pro potential, and to say, oh, let's move him to right guard, oh, let's see if he has more value at a tackle, just fuck off. He's proved he's very, very good at left guard. That's it. That's his position for the rest of his career. Let him dominate. But the answer, Kyle Long, complete stud.
Good stuff, guys. Excellent stuff. All right, I am going to play a soundbite from Montez Sweat talking about whether it's too much the fact that the Bears did not acquire an opposite pass rusher, if he's carrying too much of the load. It's a minute long, and in that minute, I'm going to try to fucking take a piss because as you can see me squirming around, I really got to go.
Good old Dan Sorrentino. I like it. I like it.
There you go.
Is this the most responsibility that you feel a team has put on you, to put you in this position where you are expected to lead the pass rush? You're one of the highest paid guys on the roster. You're experienced now.
You put that responsibility on me.
Do you feel like this is the most that's been asked of you or put on you in terms of you have to spearhead this?
Not necessarily. Still 11 guys out there. Everybody has to do their job to a high ability for us to keep moving forward.
To that point, there's been a lot of talk about there needing to be some additions to the opposite end across from you to be able to maximize what you do. I know personnel ain't your job, but do you feel like there does need to be some additions? Are you comfortable where you guys are in terms of keeping double teams, triple teams off of you?
Yeah, that's a little past my pay grade. It's always a roster can always be updated and all those type of things, but I'm very comfortable with the guys that we have in the room.
I am back just in time. So my question for you guys is, what is your level of concern about the pass rush? Do we really need to add somebody, or do you think that it's adequate enough for us to still be a top 5 NFL defense? Karl, your thoughts?
I think that Ryan Poles told you what the answer is. The Bears pursued Matthew Judon. I don't think that they'll ever be happy with their roster per se. They'll always explore opportunities to upgrade their roster. But specifically on the defensive end room, it could end up being not bad, but that could be a problem. I'm honestly more concerned about the interior, more concerned with the interior defensive line than the edges. I think that Austin Booker as a rotational piece, I don't think the world of DeMarcus Walker. I think that what he will be asked to do, I think he will be able to do it. And I think Montez Sweat's a beast. He's a stud if we were playing that game. So, I don't know. I don't think there's any issues per se. If they went out and got a Judon, I'd be much happier. But I don't know. Let's see. Let's have the situation play out. And as Sweat said, the Bears can always find someone to upgrade that position if necessary throughout the year.
Dan, your thoughts?
First off, I thought it was a good question to ask Montez Sweat. But
really
I thought
good
Sweat,
answer from him too.
Yeah, Sweat.
I loved it.
It didn't feel like he was just giving a corporate answer, even though he gave the answer he should have given. But it felt genuine too. He's like, "Well, we could always use an upgrade, but that's above my pay grade to say that." So I thought, again, good question, good answer. And it's kind of goes back to the beginning of the show. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the reason that Poles wanted to make a move. Right now, the pass rush, the defensive line as a whole is a mystery. They could blossom into something, but no one's going to know until week 1 what we actually have. And again, not trying to avoid the question, but right now it's all speculation. And if somebody says it's an awful offensive or defensive line, or if they say it's great, there's no way of substantiating that until the games are played, because it's all up in the air.
I don't know if you guys have ever done like hard drugs, but I feel like I'm going to be a recovering crack addict after Thursday's game. Like, I'm going to need Bears football, and even with Hard Knocks, that's not going to be good enough for me, man. I'm kind of scared for these next 2 weeks after Thursday.
Well, I got to tell you that I think realistically, all of us Bears fans should think about 2025 being our Super Bowl team. And I know Dan very eloquently talked about why not us, and there is reason to believe that. There's totally reason. But when you pull away and think about things more rationally, this team is probably a year away. This is the 1984 Chicago Bears, not the 1985 Chicago Bears. And another draft, and like Karl said about the draft picks that we have, 3 in the top 60 something, you said, Karl?
64, right? Because
yeah,
the optimism in me will say that the Bears will be picking 32, and then they'll picking again at 33 because the Panthers will once again have the number 1 overall pick.
Sweet.
But right, they got 1 first, 2 seconds, so 3 in the top 64.
I love the thinking. If that scenario were to turn out, we could pick up at a good offensive lineman, a good defensive lineman in the 3rd round with the first pick. You're picking up another good quality player, and then you've got some free agency dollars because you're still under the Caleb rookie contract, so you could spend on one stud free agent that's going to push you over the top. That's the way I realistic see, but I'm with Dan. Why not us in 2025? I want to play one last soundbite. Dan Aguirre, you had a thought.
Yeah, I know this is something maybe I should say off air, but it just popped in my head. I can't be here Tuesday. I'm going to be at the Smashing Pumpkins next Tuesday.
You fucker. Did you see the picture that I put up, and that's why?
No, and it just dawned on me because I was thinking, okay, we're doing the show. I was like, what do I have next Tuesday? I was like, oh man, I'm going to be at the show. I can't be here.
Have you guys not moved the next couple of weeks to Wednesdays because of Hard Knocks?
Yes, we have done that. This is our second show on Wednesday because of Hard Knocks. But next week, Buffon 55 returns. Now they're going to be on Tuesday, but I had asked them to circle next Wednesday as their return date for their debut episode. And then after that, it's going to go back to Buffon 55 on Tuesday and us back on Wednesday. So,
I apologize. I'm sorry.
I apologize. So maybe we can move to Monday or maybe we'll do Thursday. We'll figure something out. We'll talk about it. I want to play this last quick soundbite. I had tons of other stuff, but we've had such a good time deviating on different.
Well, if we did Thursday real quickly, that would probably be good too, because hypothetically, we'd have maybe extra cuts.
Karl says he's
BCP, brother. Do it on Friday. Do it on Saturday. I'm just kidding. If you want to do it on Thursday, I can't stop you. But
maybe this is that time where we do that joint BCP.
Oh, I love it.
We have 10 guys on the screen. That would be fun.
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll talk about it offline. Okay. But before, usually we save the last few minutes. Let's forget the football thing. Karl, Dan, have you guys seen anything on television or at the movie theater that you'd love to share with the audience, whether you loved it or hated it or somewhere in between? I'll start with you, Dan.
I'll start with Karl. I'm contemplating.
Okay.
Good. Keep thinking, and you won't have very much time to think. I am not very big on movies or TV. I actually do pay for TV via YouTube TV, but obviously I'm only watching football. I don't know. There's a series on, it's either CBS or it's through Paramount Plus. It's called Evil. Me and my girlfriend are really enjoying that series. It's in its 4th season. It's going to be coming to an end here, I think, Thursday. I think Thursday's the final episode ever. So,
you have a girlfriend?
Of course I do.
What's his name?
Aldi. His name is Aldi.
I have never had sex with that man.
Liar.
Okay, Dan, anything come to mind?
I watched an old 70s horror film. Again, this is the before PG-13 rating, so
yeah,
it was PG. It would have been PG-13 had they had that rating, but it was called The Bat People.
Oh,
it's
okay.
From 74.
Roger Corman.
Yeah, it was, in some regards, it was corny, but I enjoyed it. It kept my attention for an hour and a half, and the couple, the main guy and the lady in real life were married, so you kind of felt their sexual chemistry. These two were really fucking, So I thought it was good. I watched an old Tom Hanks movie on Turner Classic Movies that I thought was going to suck. I just needed something to watch to get through the night at work. Called Nothing in Common with Jackie Gleason, and I thought it was going to be just terrible. And I actually thought it was a decent movie. It was rated R.
What's the name of it?
Nothing in Common. It's from like 86.
Tom Hanks shot in Chicago, right?
Yeah. It was actually a good film. It was still dirty enough to make me enjoy it.
Jill St. John plays the
and isn't she the one that was fucking Henry Kissinger?
She was not. It was, I think it was Raquel Welch.
No, Jill St. John was fucking him in like 72 or 3, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm gonna look that up. Jill St. John. Hopefully there are pictures of a fat Henry Kissinger.
Search this on Google, not Pornhub, Aldi.
Okay, I'll try. I'll try. No promises.
I don't know if this was real dialogue, but in the film that Oliver Stone did of Nixon, God, who was the leader?
Anthony Hopkins played the lead.
No. I meant which world leader asked Nixon how Kissinger got so much pussy?
I was.
I think it may have been Mao in China in the film. I don't know if that was a real question, but in the context in the movie, Kissinger laughs and said, "Women love power."
Yeah, exactly. That got me laid so many times. Karl, you ever been late?
I'm trying to remember. I absolutely have.
Good for you. I gotta tell you, I like
you.
this Karl guy. You know, he kind of. Where are you from, Karl? Where do you live? Where's your mom and all that stuff?
Oh, let's not talk about my parents, but suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
Joliet area.
What's wrong with your mom? She
no longer with us. No longer with us.
Did she pass?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My mom just recently passed too. I always like to ask people who look like me and that I like, you know, because they might be my son. I've paid for so many abortions over the time. You know, Karl could be my son. But
oh my.
Unlikely, given the way he's looking at me right now. So I want to fuck you up for bringing up my mom.
Well, my mom passed away too, so I can also relate.
All three of us have lost our moms.
I'll put a positive spin. I'll put a positive spin on it. My dad pulled a page out of the Dan Aguirre notebook here, and he just got married to his now wife as well. So all is well. All is well.
All right. So you got a good family life, right, Karl?
It's fine. It's
loving support system.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's more than you have. You have a lot more than I do. That's for sure. All these nuts in your mouth. I don't know what that means.
off the Stizarooski. Oh my god!
By the way, make sure you are following Bearski Film on YouTube. Their channel is producing really great videos, and of course, Bears Country Productions on YouTube, where Karl is a part of the team there. And tell us about the Thigh and Spy podcast, Karl.
Well, Bearski Film, I'm still considering this his he's touring right now in the Bears country, or sorry,
absolutely
in the Bears country, I'll call it that. But yeah, all I had to do was put Bearski in the title of our video, and we got like 1,000 views out of it, which is amazing. So shout out to Bearski. Again, you can follow the Thigh and Spy podcast on YouTube. Again, episodes on YouTube are going to be very short, far in between. I may do some spin-off stuff by myself, but getting Nick's real attention, the Smy to the Thigh and Spy, it's kind of difficult right now, and admittedly so. It's no problems there. But if you want to see consistency out of myself, follow the Bears Country podcasts. We're live every Thursday.
There you go. Dan, before you go save some lives at your 911 job, you want to share anything with us? You want to plug anything? You want to cheat on your wife with Karl?
No.
Denied. We do not agree to a contract on that. It's going to fizzle through.
See, he is like my son. He will not engage in homosexual activity.
I just quickly would say that I really enjoyed Hard Knocks last night.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact, again, there was no cussing and stuff. But I thought it was a solid broadcast. Again, busy time with my new family and all that stuff. And we got 2 concerts next week on Monday and Tuesday, and the Bears coming up tomorrow night, and season about to kick off. So a lot to look forward to. We're really busy right now, and I don't know. I thank everyone that listens or watches and reaches out to me, and I don't want to steal Phil's gimmick and do shout outs, but there are a lot of people that I'm appreciative of because of this.
Well, next time I'm going to ask for your shout outs. So start writing them down. I'll save the last 30 minutes for Dan's shout outs. And Dan, please tell Nikki that I still dream
She's
about
listening.
her.
She's right now. She's watching.
I know, but I want you to reverberate the fact that I dream about her at night. And she's a very beautiful woman.
Well, thank you.
So my comment about Dan Aguirre being an expert on DP, that might be true? Yikes. No, but Dan, seriously, I haven't said this to you in person. Congratulations to you and your wife. That is awesome stuff, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Dan has disavowed himself from any threesomes. I don't know if you've done any in the past, Dan, but you definitely will not do any in the future, correct?
I have. I had a lady that when I was in college that loved to eat pussy, so I was like, well, hell, I like watching you eating it. So, but she didn't want me to mess with other girls, so I would fuck her from behind when she ate pussy. We did that, and then later on, again, I had a friend. She said when I was saying it, she's like, my all-time fantasy is. I was like, no. She was like, I really want to be fucked by a white guy and a black guy at the same time.
Oh no!
So I was like, well, I can call a friend.
No!
So
you called a friend?
Yeah, you might know that person, but I'll leave that where it is. So a friend participated in that event with me, but yeah, neither event was, as good as it sounds or as bad as it sounds. It's not really my thing. It's not my thing.
So if that was the scenario, right? Dan's twice as tall as the other gentleman in that picture. So who's where in that?
No.
equation?
Here's the funny thing, Karl. Is that Dan is clearly 3 feet taller than the gentleman to his right. But the gentleman to his right has 3 feet longer cock. Isn't that right, Dan?
Oh, I don't know. It was dark.
It was dark. Thank God it was dark.
Shout out to Mr. Shorty calling out Aldi Gondor.
I got to tell you, I have had so many opportunities to have threesomes. My friends would, it was so easy pick up girls. Come on with us. Come on. And I'm like, I have no fucking interest of seeing you bang another woman and then make fun over my tiny penis and coming all over her face. No fucking way. You guys have fun. I'll be back watching the replay of the Bears game.
Oh my God.
So there you have it. All right, Dan, get out of here.
Yeah, I do got to go to leave this job and go to the other. So I'm sorry about next week. Like I said, I'll be at the band Bush on Monday and Smashing Pumpkins on Tuesday. And high school football starts for me on Friday. So my only opportunity next week would be Wednesday or Thursday. And I'm sorry that that's the way it's turned out. I'm sorry.
High school football meaning what? Are you doing announcing or are you a coach?
I do football coverage on the radio. I feel like I'm boasting now, but I've won best sports in the state on radio in 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23. I did lose in 24. I also won in another state because I'm on the border. All that was in West Virginia. I also won it in Virginia. And I won Radio Personality of the Year in Virginia as well. So
hell yeah.
I've won some awards. I mean, again, from the Broadcaster Association. So it's not, it's legit,
Yeah.
Well, Dan, there's no misread regarding that. I'm a big fan of you. I think in this space you really stick out, and I really, really enjoy your episodes on the Bears Country podcast, Last Call on House Halls. So shout out to you.
Thank you, sir.
Keep
not
kicking
bad
butt.
from a socialist, right, Dan Aguirre?
I thought I was the socialist.
He is.
Both of you guys.
Well, guys, I got to go, though. I apologize. Thanks.
Not a commie. I like it. All right. That was Dan Aguirre. He's on his way to save some lives at his 911 job. Karl and I are going to finish up the show. I'll see if there's any questions. Anything, Karl, do you want to share regarding your sex change operation or anything else?
You're the one. You need to speak for yourself there. If we were to continue playing studs or sucks,
okay,
40-45 for the Bears sucks, man. I don't care what you guys think about these most recent games. Go watch the footage in the first two preseason games. 45 is trash.
Mm-hmm. Well, I won't say he's trash, but I
would-
certainly don't think he's going to make the team. Any one of those guys.
Do you have any sort of like first 5 in, last 5 out for the Bears regarding their roster, or is it too early to tell for you?
Ooh, man, I wish you would have fed me this question because that's a great topic we could talk about at length. Hopefully, well,
And I don't mean to put you on the spot too.
No, no,
I mean,
you know,
what about
right.
like a Velus Jones? You think Velus Jones is still a lock?
I think Velus Jones is still a lock. I think he has shown too much promise at the running back position and to be a fairly reliable gadget wide receiver. You're not going to throw him any bombs. Oh, maybe you will during the course of a 17-game season. But I think that there are still things that tell me we can salvage his career because he was a third-round draft pick. I'd rather have Velus Jones over Dante Pettis. And the fact is that Velus has played on kickoffs and run the gunner type position and has done fairly well. He's a big physical guy. So as much as he's disappointed us with his hands, I think Velus Jones should make this roster over guys like Dante Pettis.
So I had this conversation with someone earlier today. If you go by your, subjective PFF stats and say, oh, Velus Jones hasn't fumbled in the last few years. He fumbled against the Bills. He muffed the punt. His opportunity to have a nice kickoff return was squandered by letting the ball roll around like a sack of potatoes for 3 seconds, and as soon as he looks up, he's getting blasted by the special teams unit. So where he may not actually be fumbling the ball, he is contributing directly to losses for the Chicago Bears over the course of years at this point. I think that the Velus experiment has come to an end, or at least that it should.
And out of frustration, I have said that too, but I'm willing to give it one more look. I just think that the speed that he possesses is really, really hard to replace. Cliff says, I'm keeping Wheeler over Velus.
My argument, right, is that you find a way because Velus, I think even Cliff Victoria in another stream yesterday, he was saying, let's trade these players. Let's get draft compensation for these players that we're going to cut. That's just not how it works, right? But I see both Ian Wheeler and Reddy Stewart as players who are going to contribute to a starting 53-man roster in the NFL this year. I want that to be for the Bears, maybe not so much Reddy Stewart because that room is stacked, man. But I really want Ian Wheeler to find a way to get onto the Bears roster and to stick around. Because if he goes to the practice squad, he is going to get poached.
See, I disagree with that. Okay. I love Ian Wheeler, but the fact of the matter is that every team is stacked at the running back position with guys like Ian Wheeler, guys who are fast, who came from small schools, who were undrafted free agents, and for the most part, those teams are still invested in those players. Those players have gone through OTAs, learning the playbook. They've played in preseason games, and so they've garnered some type of trust from that current coaching staff. It would only be a team that saw Ian Wheeler and they were like, fuck, the Bears got him. And now they see him available because he's going through waivers to make it to the Bears practice squad, that they would say, this is our chance to get him. And I don't know if that's the case, so I think Wheeler could be an easier stash into the practice squad. And you gotta, when you're making cutbacks for this 53-man roster, you got to think about that. Who can more easily make it to the practice squad? So I kind of disagree.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know if Hard Knocks is going to be something that really puts these players over the top as far as being unknown versus being well-known. Mm-hmm. So I think I do agree with you that it would be much easier to put Wheeler on the practice squad. I still feel strongly that at some point he will get poached and he will contribute to an NFL's 53-man roster this year.
I am not a proponent of trading Khalil Herbert, but we have needs, right? We would love to get more help, either a defensive tackle or defensive end. So if a team calls you, Karl, says, okay, I know you're representing Ryan Poes and Ian Cunningham right now, but here we have a defensive end. Let's say the Colts have this Dayo guy. I talked to Greg Gabriel about it. He had 8 sacks last season. He played a lot in that last preseason game, and a lot of people are wondering, were they showcasing him? The other starters didn't play as many snaps and so forth. He had 8 sacks last season. He would demand a Khalil Herbert or a cornerback. The Bears are deep at cornerback, and potentially a 4th or 5th round draft. But Karl, would you make that deal?
I mean, you spent it was a 6th round pick for Herbert. So if you can get a 4th round pick out of a player with an expiring contract, you absolutely have to do that. I think that Herbert's almost in the same boat as Velus Jones Jr., where you just can't get compensation for him. If you don't want him on your team, you're essentially just going to cut him, and he's going to choose where he wants to go. Now, I don't like the idea of the Bears getting rid of Khalil Herbert, because I think that Khalil Herbert is the Bears' best kick returner over Velus Jones Jr. So when it comes to the depth chart, I think that the Bears actually have 2 number 2 running backs. Khalil Herbert is the number 2 back for running, and Roschon Johnson is the number 2 back when it comes to a 3rd down passing set. Maybe a scat back, but more pass blocking, of course. So I don't like the idea of getting rid of Khalil Herbert, but for a 4th, let's do it.
All right. I want to respond to Kay's point here. No running back on any NFL practice squad is as fast as Wheeler. That is true. I will give you that. And I think that there is a strong possibility that there were some teams that were trying to sign him as an undrafted free agent when they saw that he had fallen out of the 7-round drafts. So he could be he could be snatched by somebody else. I'm not denying that that is a strong possibility. But we said that about so many other players of the Bears. Who was, Karl, do you remember that one wide receiver who was going deep in training camp, and he was catching bombs from Mitchell Trubisky, and everybody thought, oh, this guy should be in the 53, should be in the starting lineup. Do you remember who that guy was?
No, not that far back. I feel like there was a player very recent that the Bears wanted, and ended up either came from Minnesota or went to Minnesota. I forgot the player's name already.
Yeah, my point is that it just seems like there's always a player that has a great training camp, who has excellent a resume, a body type, and athleticism that makes him really coveted, and we don't want to risk putting him out in the practice squad. But I don't think the risk is that high. I don't.
And running back is a dime a dozen, to your point. So
exactly.
I understand what you're coming from, but Ian Wheeler is really fast. He is, in my opinion, I don't know if he'd be preserving himself for his doctor career whenever that's going to start after his NFL career, but it feels like he just doesn't have a tomorrow attitude. I feel like Ian Wheeler, when he wants to make contact, he's going to make sure that he runs over you for whatever his size is. I don't know. There's just something about Ian Wheeler. And it's not fair to compare Ian Wheeler to these next players. And there's no really direct correlation. But the Bears right now, this regime has an awesome track record of UDFAs, right? First Jack Sanborn, and now Tyson Bagent, who in the coming days, I might want to make the point that Tyson Bagent is worth a 2nd-round pick.
I agree.
But I don't know. There's something about Ian Wheeler that stands out to me. I hope that against the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday, he is able to return at least 4 kicks. Because if he does, he could take one to the house. I think he's that good.
See, now let me ask you, if you think that he's that good, wouldn't you want to just stash him away on Thursday and don't expose his greatness to every other team? That way it would be easier for you to stash him on the practice squad.
I mean, if they don't play him, that's an obvious indicator of what the Bears are going to be doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of want it to be dog-eat-dog out there. I just want there to be a direct competition with Ian Wheeler and Velus Jones Jr. Again, circling back, I think that the Velus Jones experiment has run its course and time is up. But
yeah, and I would not shed a tear if Velus Jones and his ferret were cut from the Chicago Bears, but I do think I'm not going to be upset if he makes the roster, because I do think that the athleticism he provides, the knowledge of the playbook, he could. I could buy the fact that he's getting this third shot with the Chicago Bears. Anybody else on this roster that you look at and say, this guy is a definite keeper or this guy is a definite cut in your opinion?
A definite cut. Dante Pettis? I mean, Dante Pettis, same thing. I think that the perfect role for Dante Pettis is wide receiver 8 for the Bears, and he'll be watching those games from his couch. Also, another player who can't catch a pass. Obviously, he's had a really good last couple of weeks in preseason, but same thing. I think that his time is up. His 40 time is no longer an indicator of how fast he is. He is not fast. He had a chance to return a punt. He fielded a punt in Ocean. He had no one anywhere near him, and all of a sudden the coverage was on top of him. So, yeah, David's comment's awesome here as well. I made a comment about how stacked the cornerback room is for the Chicago Bears. I really like Josh Blackwell. Jalen Jones, to me, has been an obvious lock, maybe the best backup cornerback one in the entire NFL. So those are some of the guys. I mean, Greg Stroman could be the first player, like the last player cut, rather. He might be the Bears' 54th player on the roster. And I don't know if he can survive a practice squad stash, but I feel like Stroman might be one of those players who's unfortunately on his way out.
Yeah. Good night to Plank, who is leaving us. So we'll be pulling the plug in a few minutes here. But I'm really enjoying the conversation with the son that I thought was aborted many years ago, Karl.
I wonder if you and Mr. Sorrentino have like a weird fantasy about this, because Mr. Sorrentino also suspected that I may be his aborted offspring.
Oh my goodness! Well, I gotta tell you, one thing Mr. Sorrentino and I have in common is that we fucked a lot. We had a lot of one night stands.
Can I make that? Do I have your permission to make that a YouTube Shorts? You and Mr. Shortellini had sex? Is that what you said?
No. That's a firm no. Okay, Nasimbo. All right, so Nasimbo Webster's not going to make the 53, correct?
Goodbye. No, correct. Right. He'd be wide
Tyler Scott. 9. Tyler Scott, yes or no?
He's a lock, right? He's on a cost-controlled contract, and he has really high upside.
Okay.
So I like him.
Dante Pettis is a no, right?
Correct.
Roma Dunze is a yes. That's 2.
Roma Dunze might already be the Bears' number 2 receiver.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. DJ Moore is number 3 that we're keeping. There's a guy in the roster named Peter LeBlanc. Have you seen or heard of this guy?
I have heard of him recently, and I've never seen him play, I don't think. But Peter LeBlanc was cut and is just now re-added to the Chicago Bears roster because Freddie Swain was placed on IR. And in my opinion, that means that Freddie Swain is no longer going to be a member of the Chicago Bears, and he's going to be reaching an injury settlement.
Okay. I thought Peter LeBlanc is the perfect name for a fluffer. You know what a fluffer is, Karl?
No. Elaborate, please.
He's somebody on the porn set who gets men ready for their sex scenes. And that's what Peter LeBlanc.
Define ready.
Gives them
is this a hands-on experience?
Yeah, it's
my God.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to bypass Velus Jones. What about Colin Johnson? Is he a lock to make this team?
See, Colin Johnson is going to be one of those heartbreaking stories where whether PJ agrees with me or not, Colin Johnson was the first player to make a tackle on the new kickoff rules. So he made NFL history in the Hall of Fame game. I would love Colin Johnson as the wide receiver 6. He showed a unique ability that Velus Jones simply could never show you, was to climb to the point of attack and catch a ball where it mattered.
Nice. Yes.
Velus Jones might have the speed, but Colin Johnson is a pass catcher, man. He would be an awesome wide receiver 6. I know he made a comment about how Velus Jones was a gunner on special teams. I think that against Cincinnati, that was the very first time that I've ever seen Velus Jones do that. But Colin Johnson can probably do it as well. He's not going to be your ace special teams gunner. Again, Jalen Jones, Josh Blackwell, these guys are unsung heroes. Bears fans have no idea how good they are for their position as well as what they do on special teams. But yes, I would love Colin Johnson to be on the Bears 53.
All right, so that gives us 4 on the roster. The rookie from who played with Caleb, John Jackson is
goodbye.
Yeah,
Garbage.
Exactly. Give him your last blowjob, John, and get the fuck out of here.
He's the fluffer. He's Caleb's fluffer.
He's the real fluffer. 31-year-old DeAndre Carter, who I think is still hurt, he's gone. He's not going to make this team.
Yeah,
So
that's a sad story as well, right? He's the guy that was played on the Raiders last year.
Yes.
He had high hopes to be one of the kickoff or punt returners, and it's gone nowhere.
Well, maybe he still makes it because the last name I have here is Keenan Allen. So that gives us 5. No, that's got to be 6.
It has to be 6, right? So
if,
in no
if we're
particular
counting
order.
Bayless, yes, go ahead.
Well, no, excluding Valus Jones. So the starting 6, in my opinion, would be in no particular order.
Okay.
DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Tyler Scott, Colin Johnson, and the 6th one. Actually, no, the 6th one was the Raiders guy you just said.
DeAndre Carter.
Yeah, DeAndre Carter was my 5th.
Yeah,
so
it's not gonna happen.
Maybe Valus Jones sneaks it onto the fucking roster, man.
He will. Trust me.
Son of a bitch. If he fields a punt, oh my god.
Let me tell you something.
I will die.
If he doesn't make this roster, I'll buy you a ferret. Would you like to have a ferret?
Fuck the ferret. No. No. My dog would attack it.
That's right. You got.
And I don't mean for him to be a mean dog. He's just very. He's a dachshund, so like a dachshund mix. So I think he's got this really mean streak in him towards anything he views as a predator to his household, because he really loves me and my girlfriend. And a little ferret would, I think, just piss him off.
Oh, fucking A. So what's he a mix with?
You didn't get a good look at how long he is. When we bought him, they told us he was a border collie and corgi mix because he's got short little legs, but his spine is so fucking long. It's like
gotta be
he's
dachshund.
a really unique shape. Yeah, so I'm thinking he's a border collie dachshund mix.
Okay. I got a doodle, which is a half dachshund, half poodle mix, and they're great dogs. They just stay there and just shit on the carpet every once in a while. But they don't bother me. I don't bother them. All right. Karl, any last thoughts before we pull the plug? This has been fun talking to you, by the way.
I've had a blast, man. Thank you so much for having me. And I really, again, shout out to Dan Aguirre. I enjoy listening to him. You guys have a great thing going on here. Nothing too specific, man. Again, like I said, I know a lot of the audience here is already familiar with the Bears Country podcast, but if you want to see any sort of consistency from myself, that's where I'm at on Thursdays.
That would be great. And if we could do a joint podcast next Thursday, let me open up the calendar here.
Like Montez Sweat said, that's above my pay grade, right? But if you want to go ahead and hit up Mr. Shortellini, just don't try and talk about the
I saw
aborted
Mr.
Karl fantasy, but please try and make that happen. That sounds like it would be a blast.
Well, Mr. Shortpants actually said in
Mr.
the chat room
Shortpants.
that
Gotta add that one to the arsenal.
That the 29th could be a possibility to do a crossover show. That would be now he's saying no because I call him Shortpants. But yeah, that would be fun because I've been, I love all you guys over at BCP, and it would be fun to do a crossover show. And if next Thursday would be the absolute perfect time because of the way the schedules have worked out here. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the Nomad Network. Nomad is my friend. I said some things early in the show that I don't want misconstrued. I think I'll be honest. I think Nomad has a bit of an ego because he's played the game, and more power to him. When he tells me this is the way you block a guy, I'm going to buy his opinion more than I buy mine, because the only blocking I did was, I was on the seat of my pants when I was trying to block somebody. So, God bless the Nomad Network, BCP, Swifty Sports Network, anybody else that has a podcast, let us know about it. I will be happy to let people know about it. Really appreciate everyone live. Karl, you want to give a shout out to your girlfriend? Do you have any? Is she around? Can you put her on camera?
I could. I don't know if she wants to, but
I also please tell her.
We don't need any negative reaction from that, so we'll save that cliffhanger. We'll save that for the crossover episode. Make it happen. You'll see the girlfriend.
No negative reaction, guys. What's her name?
You gotta guess, because you don't even know my name, right? I'm telling you my name is Karl, but it's in quotation marks.
Oh, I know that.
My name is Karl.
But give us an alias for her. Encourage. What do you want to call her?
I won't give her an alias. I'll give you maybe one guess. I don't want to draw this out.
Okay.
Her name is the exact name of a very famous, scary character in a movie.
Linda Blair?
No. I don't know if it's a girl or what the case is, but it's a very...
Freddy Krueger?
No.
Her name is Freddy?
When she tells her name, people are like, oh my God, is that really your name?
All right. So everyone, I just misspelled her. It's here.
Do you want the initials?
Yeah, give us the initials. Everybody in the chat
drop them in the chat. You can put it on the screen.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I gotta get water. No, that's not.
I had a point and I'm tailing off. I totally forgot what I wanted to say as well. Just
Christine. Her name is Christine.
That is incorrect.
Carrie.
The initials are in the chat.
ER.
Those are the initials.
All right. So Eleanor Rigby. No, that's not a scary movie. That's a Beatles song.
Unbelievable. Actually, this is public knowledge. She has commented on the Bears Country podcast. So if you guys are dying to know the name of my girlfriend, simply watch every single live stream of the Bears Country podcast and figure it out.
Oh, Jay Gris thinks it's Kamala.
Come on. Hold on. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Clearly, Karl, you are a Republican.
I've never voted in my life for a presidential candidate.
Are you going to vote on November?
No. Okay. Well, for starters, let's say I was a Republican. In Illinois, my vote is worthless at that point.
Okay.
It's predetermined, right? Illinois is a very ultimate blue state.
It still matters to a small degree because the more
the popular vote.
Well, yeah, the popular vote is important in terms of, for discussion purposes more than anything else. But nonetheless, I think it's interesting. What are you, about 23, 24 years old?
Try again, man.
Oh, you're older than that, huh?
If I took the hat off, you'd be able to get my age.
Okay, so you're 20.
I turned 30 this year.
I was going to say 29.
Yeah.
I was being nice.
Maybe my brain was born yesterday. I'm very ignorant and uneducated on these types of things. So,
well, everyone should have a point of view, and then they need to come to me, and I will correct them.
Okay. I like it.
It's interesting because we are going through this political period here in Chicago because the Democratic National Convention is here. And I like the America that the Democrats present as opposed to the America that the Republicans presented, which was basically Hulk Hogan taking his T-shirt off and a lot of substantive things being shared. But that's my opinion, and I respect Cliff or yours or anyone else who has an opposing point of view. We could talk about it. We can debate about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of an expansion on my comment earlier regarding the younger generation not giving, what about before them. Mm-hmm. I feel like, especially nowadays, there's this terrible divide. It's either my way or the highway. A lot of lying, a lot of BS on either side. If I had to define my political views, it would be treat others the way you want to be treated.
Thank you.
And get a fucking job, man. I don't want universal basic income. I don't want you sitting at home and collecting a check from the government and not contributing to society. Be a good, contribute to society. Work hard. And that's what the American dream is all about. And I know, the American dream is dead. I don't want to talk about that, but get a job.
Get a job, baby. I like the attitude. Everyone should get a job. Everyone should have the opportunity to get a job that is a well-paying job that will help them pay their bills. Wouldn't it be nice, Karl, if you got married to Carrie or Eleanor Rigby or whatever her name is, and you could be the sole breadwinner and she could stay home and raise the family if she chose, or the opposite way around. But what I'm getting to is a one-income household. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be amazing, and that was how I was brought up. But I do admit that those days are very potentially dead.
Why?
I'll have you know, because at Taco Bell, the The Cantina chicken burrito is $7.20, and after tax, it is $8.
Okay.
For a 400-calorie burrito. That shit is insane, man. So
I totally agree with you. It's totally insane.
I'm of the school of thought that the free handouts from the government are helping inflation rise.
That there's no doubt about that. Economists will tell you that the programs that the Donald Trump presidency and the Joe Biden presidency doubled down on because of COVID, putting free money out into the economy, helped to raise inflation, plus the supply chain interruptions because of COVID. And the third thing being corporate greed. You know, they took an opportunity here. Let's just raise the prices here since everybody's fucking starving. You know, we can really take advantage. It's called shockwave. Whenever something shocks the system, whether it's the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, they jump in and take advantage of that by doing whatever is advantageous at that point. So I totally agree with you on that. But I think that the people who offer the better solutions to that are generally the Democrats, because the Republican Party is more representing business owners, millionaires and billionaires who don't want to share the wealth. There's no such thing as trickle-down economics. That is bullshit.
The one thing that I think is undeniable is that the uber rich, I don't care about millionaires, I'm talking billionaires, trillionaires, all of them, every single one of them, aside from Elon Musk, vote left. Why? They want the money, they want to keep it, and they want to keep the middle class down. So.
Okay, so there are 8 people who control the vast amount of percentage of wealth in the United States. Elon Musk is one of them. The Walton family is another. Can you name any of the other ones and tell me that they vote Democrat?
Family or corporation?
Family or corporations.
Well, again, ignorant, don't know too much here, but I do strongly dislike that the companies BlackRock and the other, I think it's Vanguard, between them, they own, 70% of all of the stocks in the United States. So I don't know if they vote left or right, but stuff like that grinds my gears, man.
I hear you. Cliff says, although the Democratic Party is controlled by the billionaires now, they switched parties. That's why the media is Democratic, billionaire owned.
The media is a tool, a mouthpiece for the left, in my opinion. And
why is that?
I don't know why, but the way that they manipulate it and the way that things are broadcasted, that's why I've totally tuned out, because I find it disgusting.
Okay. See, when you look at the policies that the Democratic Party is promoting, these are policies that would help wealthy corporations. They want to raise the corporate tax rate. Why would these transnational corporate communications company want to promote Democrats? They don't want their taxes to go up. And so Cliff says that's why the media is Democratic, billionaire owned. There's no proof of that. Fox News is owned in part by a Saudi and Rupert Murdoch. And so they saw a profit potential by espousing right-wing views because there was a market for that. And so just like CNN, they don't have anything to gain from Democratic liberal policies, particularly when it comes to taxes. So I don't know. I think there's just seems to be a misconception. Then let's face it, when it comes to wealth in this country, wealthy people own the communication channels. There are many publications, newspaper, and websites that promote conservative values that lose money, but these millionaires and billionaires know that it's important to get their message out there, and they're willing to take that loss in their operations budget, in their profits, just to get their message out there, so that most of society will say, yeah, I should consider the Republicans on this, as opposed to the Democratic Party that's interested in giving money to poor people who are just going to take advantage of the welfare laws and so forth. When in reality, what we're seeing is corporate welfare taking the bigger part of our taxes for their use, as opposed to helping needy families.
And I don't disagree with you. My final point on this is that I always think that the truth somewhere lies in between. So whether you're left or right, the truth is most likely somewhere in the middle. And it's all bullshit. It's all scumbag liars. I hate the idea of a politician being able to hold their position in power for life. I think that shouldn't be a thing. But yeah, truth somewhere always lies in between.
I totally agree with you on that. And while I hold liberal points of view on many policies, I do think that in a country where there's so many varied viewpoints on things, we have to work to compromise in the middle, because I am not going to push my liberal policies on Cliff and you and everyone else as a conservative. I want to work with you and find out, where can we help poor people? Where can we punish people who are taking advantage of the country's generosity? And
that has no impact on your political views, left or right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I agree with you as well.
Cliff said that he'd done some research. I did test 95% of Democrat and 75. I'm with you on that. Ronald Reagan would be a liberal in today's Republican Party. I totally agree with you on that, Kay. And then Cliff said something about that he's done some research, and that Democrats are in the majority of ownership of corporate companies, corporate communications companies, and so. Please send me that research at agandia at Comcast. I'd love to read it. I want to be well informed on both sides, both points of view. I just think there's a lot of misinformation going on here, and I think the major purveyors of it are people on the right, not so much people on the left.
I've got a stat for you, and this is very unscientific, as Elon Musk says in this tweet.
Okay.
He put out a poll. He said, who will you vote for, Trump or Kamala? 1.8 million views. 78% voted for Donald Trump.
So I'm sorry, repeat that one more time for us.
Elon Musk put out a tweet on his platform on Twitter that he owns. And he said, who will you vote for, Trump or Kamala? On this post, there were 1.8 million votes.
Okay.
Out of those 1.8 million votes, 78% said that they would be voting for Trump.
Okay.
Very unscientific.
Right, it is, because most of the people who follow Elon Musk on his X account are Republicans. They're conservatives. And
I think he found a way to push it to, because I don't know how seasoned you are with Twitter. They now have a For You page. So even if you're not following them, you'll see that stuff. And I'm positive that Elon Musk put it in front of everyone's eyes. Again, he owns the platform.
Right. I think Elon Musk is somebody that we cannot trust. I think there's enough evidence of that to know that he is so invested. There are so many people on the right now who are forgiving Trump's crimes, his 34 felonies, his sexual assault conviction, the fact that he has been anti-black as a business owner, along with his father, who was a member of the KKK. They're willing to overlook those things because they are looking out for themselves first and foremost, and they believe that Trump will give them the tax cuts and the living environment that they prefer, as opposed to judging him on his character. I'll never forget, we had Jeff Pearlman on, who was the author of a number of best-selling sports books. And Jeff, by Dan or I didn't ask the question. Jeff really hates Donald Trump and volunteered that Donald Trump lied about the Twin Towers attack and that he had he had friends that died in that. And Jeff said, that's just not true. He fucking lied about it. And I'll never forget, Cliff said, Well, Trump is not a good person, but he is a good president. And I will disagree with Cliff on his evaluation of Trump as a president, but doesn't it matter to people that you are voting for somebody who has been convicted for all these crimes, that he's cheated on his wife with a porn star while his wife had just given birth to their baby? All of these personality, not defects, but just personality felonies that this guy has. Why would you want him to lead the free world?
I say this as a very light-hearted joke. Dan Aguirre had a very good piece on his thoughts on Brian Urlacher. And Brian Urlacher is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes. Okay, so what does that mean?
What does that mean? It's possible that Trump can be a terrible jackass of a person and still be a good president. It is possible.
It is possible. There's no doubt about that. But the facts say otherwise. You talk about there are a number of cabinet people who served under Donald Trump who are not supporting him now. And that includes his chief of staff. And I'm forgetting names here. He was a major 4-star general and stuff. He became his chief of staff. And the list is long of people who have worked for Donald Trump in his White House and just think that the guy is a lunatic, that he has no morals, that he's a narcissist. These are his people that he appointed, and he told us, I'm going to get the very best people. I know the very best people, and so forth. He assured America that he was going to hire the very best of people to run the Defense Department. That guy doesn't support Trump now. That was going to be his chief of staff. Those two guys don't support Trump anymore, and on and on and on. I just think that this is ridiculous. We're wearing blinders here when it comes to Donald Trump. He's not a good person. He's not. And I would rather pay more taxes than have a scumbag like Donald Trump as the president of the free world. That's how I truly feel. I really do.
And you're entitled to feel that way, and I applaud you for having such a civilized discussion on this. My, again, final point on this is that I have not ever voted for a president of the United States in this election. That will not change.
So the
options are not good, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, you know that when you don't vote, it's basically a vote for the incumbent. So if you're not voting, you're voting for Kamala Harris because they're the incumbents.
And I already felt like my vote was worthless in the state, again, because of that. Whether it
you did
goes
say that
way, whatever the case is, I don't care.
All right. Well, I truly value this discussion with you and your patience in listening to my rants on my dissatisfaction with the Republican Party. And
anytime.
I would love to talk more about this with other people. I want to understand why you think Trump would be a good leader for the free world, because I just don't get it. So please educate me. And let's see, Cliff says Aldo Kamala's husband got his ex-wife's nanny pregnant. If you want to talk morals, Cliff, you're comparing apples and oranges here. He was not married to Kamala when he had sex with this woman. So, that's just not fair, Cliff. You're smarter than that. You can't do that. You just can't do that. I've had fucking, issues in my personal life that I'm not proud of. But do you make a overall judgment about whether I should be the leader of the Barroom Network or whether I should be a good neighbor or anything because of my indiscretions? No, I don't think so. But when you have somebody like Donald Trump, who has been accused by multiple women of habitually cheating on his wife and carrying on in ways that are just not civil, that to me is a problem. Again, I'm pontificating here, and I wish I could edit the last 30 minutes of the show.
Mr. Shortellini loves a little bit of pontificating. Yeah, that's what it was, man. And Mr. Short, I can't come up with another name.
Try it,
Shorty. I wanted to say something like scantily clad. I don't know, man. Shorty here is proving his point with the COVID donations. When that money was injected into the bank account, they're not going back to work.
Yes.
That would be a failed society, and that is scary to me. I think that everyone should strive to be a productive member of society and treat others the way that they want to be treated. It's really simple.
I love it, Karl. I totally agree with you. And just also, I want to be on the record of saying that today's Democratic Party is not one that I love. They have become the Ronald Reagan Republican Party. They are, and as Cliff has said, and other people have said in the chat, they really are supporters of corporate greed. There's no doubt about it. My wife and I donated $800 to the Barack Obama campaign. And then just like a day or two later, we read that he was appointing all of the people who were part of the Clinton economic team into the White House to be part of Obama's cabinet. And I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? I just gave this guy money for doing the same thing that Ronald Reagan did, and I was opposed for. It's just doing away with Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal, which helped create the biggest middle class in United States history, in world history. No other middle class grew as much from the 1930s to the 1940s when Roosevelt had 4 presidential wins because the United States people loved them so much. And that's what I wanted to get to, is tax the multi-billionaires, those 8 people that own all the wealth, tax their asses off like Franklin Delano Roosevelt did, so that we can build good schools, so we can build good highways, so we can build good hospitals, so that we can have a vibrant country and have people well educated, because the Pentagon has told us that we need a well-educated populace or we're going to lose wars and economic battles with China and other countries. But the Republicans don't want to fucking pay for anything. They have taken on this libertarian thing where every person is for itself. I'll educate my own kids through billion-dollar schools, but the populace, the people that we want us to protect, that we want to protect us in armies and on the police and fire departments and stuff, fuck them. Come on, that's not what made this country great. That's not what made. And so again, I apologize for pontificating. I really do. And Karl, I really appreciate you listening, man.
I share your sentiment on a strong middle class. All for it. Mr. Shorty in the chat here said that Karl is the spokesperson for Taco Bell. Hashtag not an ad. Karl or the Barroom Network or Bears Country Podcast or the Lions Mind Podcast are not affiliated with Taco Bell. But if you would love to reach out to me, Taco Bell, hit my lines. And while we're at it, Ghost Energy, reach out. Send an email.
That's right. And that gentleman there is Karl. We don't know if that's his real name. We don't know what his girlfriend's
It is my
name
real first name. The question with short pants over here is my last name, which I have not divulged.
Okay. By the way, we're about ready to play the closing video here. Does EW want to come on video and just say hi to our Barroom fans?
Oh, you mean ER?
ER, I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to leave it up to the big guys again above my pay grade. Let's have the Barroom Network.
Ask her.
And the Bears Country Podcast come together in unison.
Oh, so you want to save it for BCP.
On this next episode, if it happens, we'll have a reveal.
All right, well, I will. I'm going to reach out to Mr. Shorty Pants. We will talk about it. And Dan, well, I'm sure Dan can arrange for his new wife to join us, your girlfriend. Maybe we can get Mr. Shorty Pants' wife on. We can't get my wife on.
I thought you were really going to be pontificating about having wives get together and such.
Yeah,
I am not going to be the fluffer for that.
Well, we'll work something out with BCP, hopefully for this upcoming Thursday.
Just no PCP. Chat. Stay away from PCP, please.
By the way, Karl, please tell your girlfriend that I love her and I'm going to be thinking about her.
Hey, I've got to go, man.
So do I. Thanks for listening, everyone, and putting up with my political nonsense. Bye-bye, everybody.
Peace.